you're ready to roll. Good. All right. Excuse me. A little frog in the throat. All right. Well, welcome to the April 14th meeting, 2026, of the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors. It's 9 a.m. We will start with a roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Arroyo. Here. Supervisor Bone.
Yep.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Good morning.
Supervisor Madrone.
I am present, and I am on Zoom remotely due to a bad cold, and there's nobody under 18 in the room with me.
Thank you. Chair Wilson.
I'm present, and thank you, Supervisor Madrone, for not sharing your cold with us in person. Appreciate that.
All are here.
All right. All right, we'll start with the salute to the flag here, and we'll be led by Supervisor Arroyo. All right. We've done that. Now we're asking the CAO if there's any changes to the agenda, any modifications.
Good morning, Chair Wilson. There are no modifications this morning.
Great. It looks like we have a couple of time sets. We have a 10 a.m. for a presentation about the education system and 10:30 for 3 closed sessions. All right, moving on. We are starting with the consent calendar. I want to note we do have a bunch of proclamations today. So I just want to show raise hands or check in with people if they're here for them. National Dispatchers Appreciation. Great, okay. Bembo's 20th annual 4th of July fireworks event. No, okay. Resolution road closures and no, all right. Let's see, Week of the Young Child. Yes, okay, great. Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Yes, okay, great. Grange Month. All right. Chamber of Commerce Awards. Supervisor Madrone, are you going to speak to that today? Well, we'll see how that goes. And that's what we got. So, all right. Yes. Yes, item number 4. Oh, sorry, I went to the wrong page there. Do we have anyone here honoring Jean and Betty Sinistrado? Sinistero. Okay. Yes? Is that a yes? Okay. Okay. And Child Abuse Prevention Month? Anyone here for that? All right. Good to know. Okay. With that, we're going to start with the proclamation for item 5, which is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And Supervisor Bushnell is going to lead us off on that one. There's a lot of proclamations, so you can see everyone kind of organizing them up here. So, oh, animal control. You guys here too? God, you're here for a.
Hi.
Yes, you eat a lot today. All right.
So you're here for child abuse? Okay.
Yes,
thank you.
I am.
And thank you for coming forward. And thank you for being here. Humboldt County Board of Supervisors proclamation in honor of Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas children are our future and deserve to grow up nurtured and free of the maltreatment of abuse and neglect. And whereas preventing child maltreatment is a community problem that depends upon collaboration among agencies and individuals within neighborhoods and throughout the community and the county. And whereas CAPCC is actively aligned with the Family First Prevention Service Act to extend public awareness that everyone in our community plays a part in reducing child abuse. And whereas child maltreatment not only directly harms children and results in adverse childhood experiences, which increases the likelihood of such long-term physical and mental health problems that come at great economic and social cost. And whereas child maltreatment occurs in families of all cultural, ethnic, and economic backgrounds, and whereas the majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable in an engaged and supportive community. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure each family has the support needed to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. And whereas there is a growing body of knowledge that primary and secondary prevention programs offered within the community and throughout the county can stem the tide of child abuse. Now, therefore, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors recognizes the importance of working together to prevent child abuse, reduce adverse childhood experiences, and promote the well-being of children and families. We do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Yeah. Gonna come down and take a photo for you.
Oh, good. Vice President.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to help this. And now you can talk.
Thank you. Good morning, supervisors, and thank you for this proclamation. My name is Jan Bramlett, and I'm the president of the Child Abuse Prevention Coordinating Council of Humboldt County. We thank you for recognizing the importance of child abuse prevention. Over the last year, CAPCC has continued to highlight the work our partners are doing through the Family First Preventive Services Act, updating our website to feature this work more prominently. The strengthening of community pathways, the no wrong door approach for easier access to resources that help families through difficult times, has become even more important in our current climate. CAPC's 2025 Roundtable theme was Centering Community, Creating Hope and Connection in Hard Times. We hosted 2 panels of community leaders and service providers whose organizations have faced dramatic challenges as the result of cutbacks in federal funding under the current administration. Our panelists addressed the ways in which new federal policies are affecting their clients. Panel participants from both tribal communities and from Spanish-speaking communities identified similar barriers to serving their constituents. We focused this conference on making connections across organizations and considering ways to collaborate and bridge gaps in services. Addressing adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, is still at the forefront of CAPCC's work, and we are working with Public Health and Live Well Humboldt to build out a section of the Community Health Data Dashboard that describes ACEs and its relevance to the priority areas that are identified in our Community Health Improvement Plan. The story will draw connections between ACEs and the many programs and projects in our community that can prevent and address the injury of ACEs. For example, the Community Schools Initiative brings a more holistic approach to academic achievement by integrating on-site behavioral health services, and several school wellness centers are now screening for ACEs, thus improving the chances of connecting children with treatment and family supports to reduce the impacts of trauma. We are actively involved in 2 statewide initiatives with a seat on the Citizens Review Panel for Child Abuse Prevention, on the Mandated Reporting to Community Supporting Committee, and are also collaborating with the California State Council on Developmental Disabilities to create a training that would be widely accessible for preventing child abuse in especially vulnerable populations. This year, we will again celebrate Children's Memorial Day on Friday, April 24th at 9 a.m. at the Boys and Girls Teen Center in Eureka. As always, you are each invited to help us honor the community members who have demonstrated excellence in service to children and youth, and to raise the CAPCC flag for those children who have been lost to violence. Thank you again for recognizing our work on behalf of Humboldt children and families and allowing me to present this summary of our accomplishments. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Any comments?
Am I done?
Yeah, you can sit down, yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Leah Lamatina, and I am the Vice President of the Child Abuse Prevention Coordinating Council. I also am the Director for Foster and Homeless Education Programs at the Humboldt County Office of Ed, and a member of the First Five Commission. I wanted to take this opportunity during Child Abuse Prevention Month and reflect on the shared commitment in Humboldt County bless you. The shared commitment in Humboldt County to supporting children, youth, and families In our rural isolated community, this connection and the partnerships between systems, schools, tribes, community organizations, and partners really matter. Especially right now, as families are navigating increased challenges in our community tied to housing, economic instability, food security, and access to care. We're seeing the impact of the broader social determinants of health every day and how that impacts families' ability for resilience. However, in my work, I see how people and systems across this community show up every day with consistency, compassion, and understanding of what families are carrying. And that's what Child Abuse Prevention Month is really about, celebrating that commitment to our community. It's about strengthening families and communities before crisis happens. And this is shared work. It does not sit in one system alone. So I'd like to say thank you and name that this work depends on us to stay connected as a community and to support one another across the systems and keep prevention at the center of what we do. Thanks so much.
Thanks, you guys. Anyone else from the public want to speak on this item? Seeing none, bringing it back to the board. Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. Thanks for being here again today, and just want to say the work that happens around child abuse prevention is so important and really the future of our county.
Supervisor Bone.
Yeah, and the presentation at the Boys and Girls Club every year is pretty cool. So I appreciate that too, and recognizing those people that usually are never recognized. They just do it because it's the right thing.
All right. Ready? We're going to move on to the next proclamation. And that is, this is Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. Come on up. And Supervisor Arroyo has this one, so take it away, Supervisor Arroyo.
That's what I call perfect timing.
Great, nice to see you. Whereas National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week is celebrated every year on the second full week of April. This year it takes place from April 12th to 18th and is a week when communities are encouraged to learn about what the job of animal control really entails and to be grateful for those who do it. In the past, the evil dog catcher was something you would often see in cartoons, but this depiction only promotes a negative perception of the trade. In reality, animal control officers risk their lives to protect both animals that are sick or injured and humans from animals that may be violent or have contagious diseases. And whereas Humboldt County's animal shelter days and hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 4, and Tuesday, Thursday from 10 to 7. And whereas the animal shelter cares for, shelters, and feeds approximately 1,300 dogs, cats, and other animals each year, and whereas the animal control officers respond to approximately 2,000 calls for service in a year, and whereas animal control officers take approximately 100 dog bite reports a year, and whereas the animal shelter has successfully adopted out 542 animals in 2025, and whereas the animal shelter has 16 employees and 75 volunteers, and whereas last year the community supported the shelter and our animal control officers by donating just over $61,000 to the Emergency Medical Fund and 8,724 hours of time to ensure that those abandoned animals are taken care of. Now therefore be it resolved that the Humboldt County Supervisors, Sheriff William Hansel, and the staff of the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office hereby commend and thank the Humboldt County Animal Control Officers for their service to this community. Where do you want the proclamation here? Okay.
Right in the middle where it starts.
Thank you. There you go. Thanks.
You ready?
Good morning, Board. Thank you. I'm going to speak on behalf of our shelter manager, Andra. She probably just came from an animal call on her way here, and this isn't her thing. She's a down-to-business person, but whether you're somebody that's dealt with an animal emergency in your life, which is extremely scary and dangerous, or you're somebody who, like me, looks into the eyes of animals and sees a soul that wants a better life like all of us. The animal shelter is an essential part of our community. If you're lucky enough to have not dealt with the first and you want the latter, come up to the shelter, and I mean, you can't help but get misty when you see these animals that are wanting a better life. And this is all made possible with this completely logistical nightmare of trying to manage all this stuff by an amazing staff and group of volunteers that we're blessed to have. So on behalf of the Sheriff's Office and a taxpaying member of our community, my hat's off to them. This community would not be the same without them. So thank you very much to all of them, and thank you, Andra, for keeping the ship off the rocks. Thank you guys for the time.
All right, thank you. Any comments from the board? Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. There's nothing pulls more at my heartstrings than young kids, children that need help, or animals. And I see the pictures that are shared throughout with the Humboldt County Animal Shelter, and know that the work that you guys are doing is so important and makes a huge difference to those animals' lives. And so I really appreciate that and want to thank you. Also, just the amount of dedicated volunteerism and monies that come into the animal shelter. You know, the county of constituents feel the same, and so thank you for the work you do. Thank you.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. I know the animal shelter is a labor of love for those who work there and volunteer, and I can certainly see the bittersweetness and the love that you all have for these animals and for the community to help do this work. So I'm pleased that this year it sounds like the animal shelter is getting some much needed work done, and it's been great to hear about the passion of the volunteers in the last year as well. So thank you for all you do, and I was excited to sponsor this one. I'm always really excited about seeing where we can promote our animal shelter.
All right, any more comment from the room on this? One of our cats, Nandor the Relentless, thanks you as well. He's a survivor. All right, next we're going to move to the proclamation for this week's National Dispatcher Appreciation Week in Humboldt County. And it's like
Thanks for
it's a
stepping up.
JD-a-thon there.
Thanks for stepping up, Morgan.
There's not enough staff to bring anybody off of the radios today to make it here, so I'll be accepting on their behalf. Do I speak before or after? Okay.
You can speak during if you want. You have a gun. Humboldt County Board of Supervisors proclamation, National Dispatcher Appreciation Week. And I don't think anybody will ever appreciate Dispatcher Week till you spend a few days up there in the dispatch office. It's not the most welcoming. They have windows, but it is a pretty intense situation. And if you've been ever up there and listened to, I go up there not quite a bit, but every so often, and 9/11 calls and everything else. And I think the Sheriff's Department overseeing it, Morgan, does a great job. And we were able to add some staffing up there. Obviously not enough today, but whereas the week of April 12th through 18th, 2026 marks Dispatcher Appreciation Week. We want to recognize our incredible Humboldt County dispatchers, the unseen heroes who keep our deputies and community safe. Whereas life and death emergencies can occur at any time, and dispatchers are the first, most critical link in that moment when a citizen needs emergency assistance from law enforcement or other emergency services. Whereas a citizen may only call 911 once in their lifetime, and the calm, reassuring voice in a time of need is priceless to our community and the people we serve. They have become experts in crisis intervention and de-escalation. Dispatchers serve the public daily in countless ways without recognition of their outstanding services. 24/7, 365. Christmas Day, there's dispatchers up there. Whereas an emergency communication dispatcher is always poised and ready to answer a call for service, and no matter how stressful, frightening, or tragic that call may be, the training and experience they have ensures they don't panic, freeze, but remain courageous, calm as they perform their duties in the face of these challenging times. Whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of deputies is crucial to the protection of life and preservation of property, and the safety of those deputies is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained by the dispatcher from citizens who telephone the Humboldt County Sheriff's Communications Center. Whereas dispatcher is able to multitask like no other person, they are able to answer a 911 call, answer an internal phone line, listen and respond to the radio, monitor other law enforcement jurisdictions, enter essential data into the computer, talk to fellow dispatchers, and deliver exceptional service in a dedicated, diligent, and compassionate manner, all at the same time. Whereas the Sheriff's Emergency Communications Center answered 103,926 public calls in 2025, of which 20,910, looking at 20%, were 911 calls. 118 text to 911 calls, dispatched 64,536 calls for service. Our dispatchers answered 911 calls within 10 seconds, 99.4% of the time, which far exceeds the national standard. Whereas the Humboldt County Sheriff's Officer Dispatch Team is a combined 103 years of service, and each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be proclaimed that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors, Sheriff William Hansel, Under Sheriff J.D. Bro, and the staff of the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office hereby commends and thanks the Humboldt County dispatchers for their service to the community. And does McCall still head that up? Who heads it up now?
Morgan is the supervisor, and then she reports to me.
Okay. All right. McCall did a good job when he was in there too. Thank you. Good job.
All right.
I don't need a picture.
Thanks again for having me. Feels wrong to be up here accepting it on behalf of them, because I tried to work up there for just like 4 hours the other day in a crunch, and I was probably more of a hindrance than a help. It is an extremely difficult job and extremely hard to find people that can do that job. Unique perspective for me with my appreciation for dispatch, not just our own, but all public safety dispatchers in general. I've been a citizen calling in a personal emergency, and was comforted by the knowing somebody was there to send help, and have also been a deputy out in bad spots, hoping that somebody was going to get to me or that things weren't going to go worse, and hearing a dispatcher over the radio knowing that they're going to get people come my way. So I can't thank them enough or speak on how they are the lifeblood of public safety, and without them we are lost. So we are blessed to have them, all of them. We don't have enough of them. If you know anybody, if you want to answer that call, please do. It's an essential part of modern communities, and I just can't say thank you enough to them. Hopefully they're watching, but from the bottom of my heart, as a citizen and as the undersheriff, thank you all very much, and thank you, board, for this time.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Thank you. I was struck by the thing in the proclamation that says somebody may only call once in their lifetime. I'm like, wow, maybe I'm an outlier, but I feel like it's been often. And in situations where like a medical emergency happening, and they walk you through reminders about first aid that you may have forgotten, the calming effect of someone on the line there with you in a really difficult moment, whether you're providing care for someone who's having heart distress, or you've just witnessed a crime, or something's just amiss and you're not sure whether it quite meets the emergency or not category, but your gut tells you should call it in. The wisdom and calming presence of the people that are trained to do this job is incredible to me. It truly, truly is. And they have to be a counselor, a well-rounded medical, not only providing direction, but someone who can interpret, sort of like a medical interpreter, because they usually have an untrained person calling and explaining what's going on, and they're giving recommendations until EMS can arrive. So much is happening, and then I know that they're talking to you on the other end, and that's the part that I don't get to see, but I know each of you who work in law enforcement do, or EMS and fire all have that other side of the communication. They have to be able to do all that at once. So it's just incredible to me. I'm so grateful to them. They really do an outsized, a job of outsized importance, and we thank them very much.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I think one thing that's so unique about, well, it's unique in this community, is oftentimes the dispatcher knows who they're talking to, which is not the case sometimes in larger cities. And so to keep that calm presence and knowing that they're often talking to someone's worst day, and being able to be calm to them and articulate what is needed, send help. I also know that they work short-staffed almost every day up there, and it's an amazing job that they do, and it's a very stressful job, and to be able to go home and put that aside and have your family life and not bring that home with you is really hard. It's what you guys on the back wall there do all the time too, and so I appreciate them so much, because it's the first key to getting you all there to help people that are in need, and we appreciate them a lot.
I associate myself with all of those comments. Is there anyone else in the room who wants to speak to this particular? Oh, you want to? Oh, there you go. Supervisor Bone, I thought you were done. Sorry.
I didn't say anything. I read it. Yeah, when I called out McCall for heading it up, it's probably one of the departments, and I think JD alluded to it. When you have Morgan, you really don't need a whole bunch. She does a great job up there of the handling and juggling all the balls, and she's got a great team. So, a few years ago, we were able to adjust their salaries and actually get more dispatchers in there, and hopefully we can keep it somewhat fulfilled, the positions. But as you said, a lot of people wash out because it is a lot of stress to handle in one situation. All those things happening, and as is previously said, the medical calls, the everything else. But it's the idea of a calming voice that answers the phone, and they don't follow you're wound up, and when they ask you, okay, how do we get there? I said, well, just come to my house. They're looking for a little bit more than that. And I think online there is question and answers about how to talk to a dispatcher. I think, is that still on there? Anyway, it's a great, if you look at that up, I mean, I'm telling everybody in the room, look that up and read it. So when that one time you have to call 911, you can be very specific in what they're looking for, and that 9.4 second response time turns into a 6-second report or a 10-second report, instead of them having to ask every question again. No reason to waste all that quick response on the other side. And it's pretty informative for when you have to call. And the big part is, you're the most important part of the 911 call. The dispatcher is, but the information you give them to work with is the most important part, because that's what's going to go out to get you the needed help. So I do implore everybody to look that up and see how to talk to a dispatcher. So anyway, they do a great job upstairs. Kind of hard to get to, but they do a great job.
I think that's good wisdom. Do you know, is there a website that has that specific information, or just Google how to talk to a dispatcher?
JD, it's on our website, but you can also Google how to talk to.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty amazing what people will say in a panic situation.
I can imagine.
And, you know, this is Bob, you know, I need a fire truck. Well, how do we get there? Don't you have those little red trucks anymore? That's not an answer. So,
Okay. Good advice. Anyone else have anything to say about Dispatcher Week? Again, it is a difficult job. We're doing our best to appreciate it as best we can, but it is one of those things that people do behind, you know, in offices, tucked away in spots that people don't see, and we really want to appreciate them for their hard work. All right, moving on to, this is a proclamation, Week of the Young Child, sponsored by Supervisor Bushnell.
And I know we have Star here. Hi.
And I'm going to pass this to Supervisor Arroyo
Okay.
and let her do it.
Oh, okay. I do have it, yes. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't realize. Thanks. Oh, okay. Great. Well, I think because I serve on First Five now, we passed the torch a little bit. All right. So this is in honor of Week of the Young Child. Whereas all young children deserve quality early learning environments that support them as capable and competent lifelong learners, and whereas nurturing parenting, quality and accessible childcare, and early education programs build strong brains during the critical years from birth to age 5, and whereas investments in babies and young children have profound impacts on creating a strong and vibrant community, and whereas the Redwood Coast chapter of the California Association for the Education of Young Children, First Five Humboldt, Changing Tides Family Services, North Coast Children's Services, College of the Redwoods Child Development Center, and Cal Poly Humboldt Children's Center and Child Development Department, in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the 56th anniversary of the Week of the Young Child and the 100th year of the National Association for the Education of Young Children. And whereas these organizations are working to improve equitable learning, early learning opportunities that can provide a foundation of learning for children in Humboldt County, and whereas early childhood educators and others who make a difference in the lives of young children deserve thanks, recognition, and support, and whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to Humboldt County's families, communities, and economy, and whereas the County of Humboldt has consistently demonstrated its commitment to the county's early childhood care and education workforce by providing resources to stabilize the child care system, resulting in better access to critical child care services for families and preserving those services necessary to local businesses, and whereas the County of Humboldt has been steadfast in its advocacy for young children and their families in their annual legislative platform and advocacy actions. Excuse me. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes April 11th through 17th, 2026 as the Week of the Young Child in Humboldt County, California, and encourages all citizens to support and invest in early childhood education in our community. I think you can say something if you want.
Sure.
You don't have to.
I have something. Listening to all the proclamations, though, I am just so struck by the richness in Humboldt County. It's nice to be part of that.
You can adjust the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Arroyo, and all the supervisors for reading that proclamation for us and honoring the Week of the Young Child. My name is Star Fischel-Mohat, and I'm the past president of the Redwood Coast chapter of the California Association for the Education of Young Children, which in turn is an affiliate of the National Association, or NAEYC, so that we don't have to say all the words. I spent nearly 25 years as a child care provider in a variety of settings, and now I work in a support role to child care providers engaged in quality improvement and professional development. In my position, I am lucky to witness the commitment, the hard work, and the sacrifice that this profession takes. NAEYC's Week of the Young Child is designed to lift up that work and celebrate the joys of early childhood, from art, reading, science, and snack time to community outings, honoring teachers, and engaging parents. We stand here today in recognition of the critical importance of educational experiences during the early years. Several decades of research clearly demonstrate that high-quality, developmentally appropriate early childhood programs produce short and long-term positive effects on children's cognitive and social development. And I'm here today to say thank you to all the dedicated professionals who work with young children and their families, and also to you, our Board of Supervisors, for recognizing and honoring that work. Federal, state, and local government, communities, parents, and the private sector must share in the responsibility of ensuring the well-being of children and families. And you have backed those values with real policies and resources that continue to make a difference today. Thank you so much for honoring this week as Week of the Young Child.
Thank you. Anyone up here want to say anything more? Supervisor Bowe?
Thank you. As somebody that got to watch 2 or 3 nights a week this time of year youth baseball with my 3 grandbuddies, I appreciate everything we do for the children. And it's basically, you mentioned a lot of people, it's just people that get involved helping a child. It'll make a difference for years to come, whether you're, it's a recreational facility, it's a educational facility, artistic. It's a proven fact. I think it's a 26% higher graduation rate for kids that are involved in programs outside the structured school, basically after school programs, art, travel, drama, baseball, anything like that. So when we start them at a young age, getting involved with that kind of thing. I got a gift package from Marianne every time one of my grandbuddies was born, from First Five, with books and everything else, and that is an important part. And it kind of steered a lot of the things I did as a grandparent when they were that age. And now when they get out of line, since they're past that age, just smack them upside the head. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's fun being involved, and I appreciate so many people that are involved, because I've been involved with kids that weren't my own for so long, that I think it's important that we make an impact with them. So thank you for the work you do.
Okay.
Chair.
Oh, Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I think in our rural county, and seeing First Five or playgroups go out to those very rural areas, even if there's only 3 to 4 children there and their parents, it makes such an impact on those families. We all have rural areas in our district. I have some of the ruralist with Alder Point and Bloxburg and Shelter Cove, and I've seen the impact that young interacting with young folks at those early ages really is so helpful to them when they get into a setting like a school setting, when they haven't had that social interaction previously. So I just appreciate all the work that goes into Humboldt County with the young folks, and the commitment. It's huge. Young kids are have a lot of energy and require your attention constantly, and it's it takes a very certain person that can do an amount of them together, and so I recognize that and just really appreciate the commitment.
Supervisor Royal.
I really just, this is a broad proclamation that covers a lot of important things, but I know it's really focused on educational opportunities for young children and enrichment opportunities. And I really see the value of that. And serving on the First Five Commission has been really informative for me too, to understand the network of resources that exist in our community. And there's so many providers and people who are part of that who weren't even listed in the proclamation, but we got all the big ones and some of the organizations that help, funnel resources together for people. We have such an incredible, for such a rural and small community population-wise, we have an incredible network of family resource centers and other services that really help connect people to what they need. And it's really cool to see. So thank you for all your work in this space, and I'll see you in a couple days.
All right. And I concur about one of the messages from today is just all the amazing people and work that's happening in this community. And it's great to have some time to recognize that. Next is a proclamation for April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Humboldt County, and Supervisor Arroyo is going to read this one.
Hi, come on up.
Thank you.
Are you with North Coast Rape Crisis Team?
I am.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Whereas sexualized violence affects children, youth, adults, and elders of all genders from all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds with public health and social justice implications for every person in Humboldt County. And whereas staff and volunteers of the North Coast Rape Crisis Team provide 24-hour emergency response services to survivors and their significant others, and believe that prevention and intervention are essential to a healthy community. And whereas no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, but can, through collaboration and partnership, work together to support those impacted, improve responses, and ensure that survivors are not re-victimized. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors, reaffirm our commitment to the North Coast Rape Crisis Team and its values of heal, help survivors by meeting them where they're at, empower them through their healing journey, affirm their choices, listen to and believe their truths, and we acknowledge April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Hold on for the photo. All right.
I don't know what the right facial expression is for this one.
Like, am I strong? Strong. I like strong. Yeah.
Most of me smile for, but I'm like, this one.
This one, we're here. Yeah, we're here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. This is your time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, supervisors, for having me today, and thank you for your ongoing support of Sexual Assault Awareness Month and the work of the North Coast Rape Crisis Team. For over 50 years, NCRCT has been providing essential free services to survivors of sexual assault in our community. This includes a 24-hour bilingual crisis hotline, accompaniments to evidence collection, support through law enforcement and the court process, criminal prosecution assistance, support with crisis counseling, as well as financial assistance during emergency times. Last year alone, we supported over 550 survivors and answered over 2,200 crisis hotline calls. Our services are available regardless of whether the survivors are involved with the criminal process or not, and no matter when the crime occurred. And we continue to support them as long as they need after a criminal process has also occurred. This work is not possible without our community, including law enforcement, the district attorney's office, Cal Poly Humboldt, College of the Redwoods, our sexual assault nurse examiners, and tribal organizations. We need your help to ensure that survivors continue to receive the care that they deserve, though. NCRCT is looking at a 50% funding cut on a state level, and currently there are $0 budgeted next year in the California budget for victims of crime in general. It is imperative that our state representatives know that this is unacceptable, and we please ask you to write to them today. And please check out our website at ncrct.org for more information about what to put in that email to your representatives. We're also inviting our community and our supervisors today to join us to celebrate the end of Sexual Assault Awareness Month on May 2nd at our second annual Dancing in the Rain Gala at the Arcata Community Center. And we would be honored to just join us and have you all there. And thank you again for supporting our work with and the survivors that we serve. And I'm happy to help answer any questions if you all have any as well.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you. Thanks for all that information, and I just want to thank you so much for all the work that happens around this terrible thing.
Nice to
Well, I'm a credentialed victim advocate in the Coast Guard, and I I'm there to support survivors of sexual assault in the service, but I'd love to connect more about what training opportunities or, tours of local hospitals and their response, resources are. So that'd be great. And I so appreciate what you do. I know it's to maintain credentialing and maintain victim support services requires ongoing education units and a lot of commitment to both supporting others and supporting yourself and self-care and developing resilience because you're hearing about so much people's trauma. So it is an important and big job, and it's so incredibly important that people be believed and that we invest the time and energy to care for one another. So thank you for doing this important work.
Thank you.
Supervisor?
I've known quite a few of your board members over the last 35, 40 years, and the effort put forward and the amount of non-disclosure you do for the people, the victims, and the idea of what you tell them, because a lot of this is partners. It's not somebody on the street. It's partners. It's somebody that's well known. I know the percentage is pretty high, but you give the idea, the value to those people, and you tell them the best way to solve this problem is to get out of the problem at first, and you give them that avenue. And I know it's seamless, it's quiet, and it's very well done. I've had the opportunity to tour a couple of facilities and very quietly, and you guys do a great job. And at the end of the day, you're helping somebody that has run out of help, because obviously when they're getting there, they have no family. It's just a tough situation, and they're trying to protect not just themselves, but their families usually too. So it's multifaceted. So, and I think if you want to give a little more shout out for the May 2nd date, I think would be a great idea of what you're trying to get going there and everything else. I know we talked about it, so.
Yeah, on May 2nd at the Arcata Community Center, we're going to just be celebrating and trying to raise funds to help alleviate that 50% funding cut we're expected in October. We're going to have Young and Lovely there and catered food, and we're just going to celebrate, have a nice live auction, a silent auction, and we're really just looking for a moment to bring our community together and bring awareness to this really important mission and services that are available. And like you said, these services are often unseen and unheard, so it's a really big moment for us to come out and come forward together.
All right, plug for the May 2nd event. I think that's important. I want to thank you guys for having the Arcata Chamber mixer in your offices again this year. That's a good way to be seen, and I do appreciate, and I think we'll make sure that our legislative agenda includes supporting funding from the state. But I do want to, let's not forget the cuts at the federal level that this administration has really, the reason you're asking us to advocate for the state is because that's probably where we might actually get some funding. Advocating at the federal level in this moment, I don't know, it seems like won't be as fruitful, and that's really too bad. And it speaks to, in my mind, sort of the priorities of our federal administration at this time. So thank you for being here. We'll do what we can. Next on the
And I
agenda.
just wanted to add one more time before I left that if there's anyone listening who's needing support, please call our hotline. It's 707-455-2881. Thank you.
Good. Good job. All right. Next on the agenda is Grange Month in Humboldt County. So come on up, Grangers.
I think we have a few of them.
Yeah.
Get up here.
I think Supervisor Bone's going to lead us off on this one, and it's good to see you again, Kathy.
Whereas the Grange strengthens individuals, families, and communities through grassroots action, service, education, advocacy, and agricultural awareness. Whereas for nearly 160 years, the Grange has played a significant role in the development of rural America and in the passage of important legislation across 3 centuries. And whereas the strength of the Grange is built upon the vitality, visibility, engagement of each community Grange across the country and their army of volunteers, whereas the Grange of the 21st century continues to be an active force in thousands of neighborhoods nationwide, fostering connections among people, communications, and organizations, even during periods of social unrest and disruption. Whereas the Grange is committed to cultivating the potential of families, children, youth, and adults of all ages, ethnicity, and creeds and backgrounds through programs and experiences that educate, engage, and enrich lives. Whereas the Grange emphasizes active citizenship and encourages community involvement in the legislative process, strengthening the connection between citizens and their government. And whereas the Grange provides opportunities for civil dialogue among people of diverse viewpoints, serving as a safe forum for exploring. Whereas the Grange supports and strengthens hometowns through volunteerism, community engagement, and legislative advocacy, benefiting both the rural and urban communities. And whereas the Grange motto, in essentials, unity, in non-essentials, liberty, in all things, charity, continues to guide its mission of advocacy, service, and inclusivity. Whereas Grange Month is an opportunity not only to celebrate Grange history, but to actively invest in our future by opening Grange doors, welcoming new members, strengthening existing Granges, and chartering new ones. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors proclaims April 26th as Grange Month in recognition of the many contributions made to Humboldt County and the state of California by Grange members through years of dedicated service. We encourage all residents to join us in honoring this well-deserved recognition.
Hi, I'm Tamara Myers. I'm president of Freshwater Grange and secretary of the State Grange Foundation. I just want to thank the Board of Supervisors for recognizing the important work that the Grange does in Humboldt County. Each Grange serves in its own unique way, whether disaster preparedness services, free and low-cost community meals, services for youth. So, thank you.
Hey, get up there, Rex. Get your picture taken, buddy.
14 years of these, what this is going to show is how much we've aged. I know.
Yeah. Well, we have to thank the sheriff's department.
Oh, I did the other night.
You gonna say something? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Supervisors. It is truly an honor to be here today, receiving this proclamation, but amongst the so many other people and works that are doing good things in our community, the number of proclamations and to the agencies that you've given them to is awe-inspiring and wonderful to be part of that group. And I know you do this year-round for lots of different things. Grange is so much more than a community breakfast. While the community breakfast is key in getting the community together and being together and having an opportunity to talk, Grange is a legislative body So if there's things that you want to change in your community, things that you can do and it can be small, from seed exchanges and plant sales to drafting regulations and proclamations and resolutions. We have the ability to lobby at the state and national level. I encourage people, as we've seen so much this morning, to continue in their active citizenship, and which is what we need in this day and age to continue on a positive direction in our local, state, and national levels. There are 9 active Granges in Humboldt County. You all have Granges in your districts. I encourage everybody to join in at a Grange. Go to a breakfast, go to an event, volunteer. That's what everybody needs the most of. Again, thank you so much, board. We appreciate this and your time. Would you like to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, he's good.
Mike?
Hold on. Got a couple comments, starting with Supervisor Bone.
Yeah, I think with Kathy and we have the freshwater, I count 8, but who's the 9th one? Because you don't know which 8 I got.
Fieldbrook has just been redone.
I got Philbrooks.
Redway, Matole.
I don't have Redway. I've got Red
Redway.
Crest. I don't
Red
have
Crest, I'm sorry.
Red Crest. I've got
So
Bayside,
North-
Freshwater. Is there one in Redway?
No.
Oh,
Red
okay.
Crest. So-
Bayside, Freshwater, Humboldt, Philbrook, Mad River, Matole, Red Crest, and Van Dusen.
Dow's Prairie.
Dow's Prairie. There you go. She gets the bonus points. Anyway, I think what you have.
Come to Dow's Prairie's breakfast this Saturday. It is their first breakfast since March 2020.
So I think like you said, everybody always thinks, well, it must be a breakfast time and everything else. But I think if you look at the startup and Humboldt, I'm going to go because recently we had a major flooding event in King Salmon. Didn't happen, but the first people on the scene with me on Friday and Saturday and Sunday weren't all the ones you read about. It was the Grange. You guys were down there because they were actually celebrating the fact that Fields Landing didn't flood at all, hardly. I mean, that's usually where I go down to your house and go, oh, God, this is plugged. But with that being said, the King Salmon, you were down there, and then they opened the Grange for the next 5 days for food. They didn't get as many people coming up, so then they brought the food to the people, which was another thing you do. Freshwater, you are the hub of the community. People want to have a get-together. They want to have everything else. And I know they have a great breakfast because I know Supervisor Wilson is one of the main cooks, I believe. So, you know.
I'm an eater.
Yeah. But, I mean, and then just starting them up and in Michelle's, and I was there, got to go a lot. Van Dusen has just kicked some booty on starting up and making a community center. And Van Dusen has just kicked it. I mean, they're having events, and it's a young community, and they've brought in, it's not Van Dusen, they've brought in a lot, and I'll let her speak on it, but it's been fun. It's been fun to watch what Van Dusen's done and the transformation it's done on the building. So, I mean, Granges are so much more, but it's also the oldest farm organization in the country. In, 1867? It's the oldest farm organization. And back in the days, before internet, before all this crap that screwed up the country, they used to show up, 3 days a week to do seed exchanges. This grows really good on the south side. This really grows good on the north side. And that's what made us the breadbasket of the world. And we're still in that situation. It's just a lot more corporate than it was neighborhood back then. So I appreciate the Granges. It's fun. And thank you for the Dow's Prairie shout out. Now I know all 9. So now I'm a happy camper. So thank you guys for all you do. And thank you guys for everything you did at King Salmon. You were the first boots on the ground and hung in there pretty good. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rex.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I grew up going to the Garberville Grange with my grandparents, and they did a lot of events, just like the Van Dusen does. Throughout the week, they do 2 to 3 events there, really bring the community together, something that's very economically feasible for folks, and a good time, and just really centered around community. The Grange, as Supervisor Bone said, around farm and agricultural has been a huge mover and shaker legislatively, like you were talking about for years. Grange insurance used to be a huge thing. And I've had a lot of fun getting to know more folks from the Van Dusen Grange area and going to their breakfasts, and they do bingo and they do dinners, community dinners, and to all the Granges. It just really brings the community together and is really a center for folks, and we appreciate your dedication. Kathy, you were instrumental, both of you, in getting the Van Dusen Grange going, and hours and hours and hours of time and volunteerism. So thank you.
All right, I just want to, it is fun and interesting to watch the ebbs and flows of all the Granges as they, get new groups and cycle through, and it's the generations that come through. It's really awesome. And I am, someday I want to write a compare and contrast the breakfasts of all the breakfasts. I'm a big fan. I haven't had every breakfast, but I'm definitely going to make a card one day and click those off. Yes, they're affordable and fun. And I know we're not supposed to focus just on the breakfast, but I'm just going to tell you, I love the breakfast, so there you go. And everything else. Thanks,
Mike.
you guys.
It's the most important meal of the day.
Chairman?
Yes.
I
Supervisor.
would like, as a transportation, they don't get any government money to rebuild these buildings, and case in point, Van Dusen. The other case in point, and I'm probably the one I visit more often than any of them, even though Humboldt's a heck of a lot closer, is the Matol Grange. And they've done, Gary and Madonna and that whole crew out there, I could name off 30 people, that they have so many events out there. They have political debates. That's where they have their community meetings, because it's a wonderful for the Matol Valley. It's right dead center in the valley, right next to our campground. So I'd like to shout out, because that place is looking very, very good. Gary's put a lot of time and effort into that, and with his band of merry volunteers. So anyway, you guys keeping these are very large old buildings that we're keeping running. So again, thank you guys.
Thank you all for the shout outs.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that is the last of our proclamations, as far as I can tell. Does anyone else have any more? Okay. Seeing that, let's take comments online from the public about items on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Chair. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes. Caller 7718, you've been unmuted.
Hello, yeah, it took a couple of tries there. I appreciate your help on your end. I did wish to make a comment on the ACES score. I did a little research while we were here. Humboldt County has, unfortunately, I think the highest negative score in California. The state's average is 14.9%. We're close to double that, according to what I could tell. Surrounding counties are 20.28. 24.8. So we're not doing well on a whole bunch of our topics today regarding that particular topic. Hopefully we do better. Item number 3, I did have a nice conversation with the director of your airport from back in Florida where he was, and I strongly support what you're moving forward on changing the fees for that animal control officer appreciation. Did we ever get the leaky roof and other things taken care of that the grand jury recommended you do there for that particular thing? And then we have I think item 8, fireworks on Denbo. And I'd like to speak out now. If you could have silent fireworks, that's fine. If you're going to have something there from I think dusk till 10 or whenever you're going to have it there, keeping these things quiet. There's no reason why we can't have quiet fireworks rather than having boomers and stuff. So that's my suggestion if you're going to move forward on that particular topic. I think that pretty well covers my consent items for today. I will speak on some other topics. I hope you can hear me better today. Yeah, I'm fine. Take care.
Thank you. That's all on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, and I did neglect to offer Supervisor Madrone the opportunity to comment on the Chamber of Commerce Awards recognition certificates. And so if he wants to do that now, this is the time to do that. Supervisor Madrone, are you?
Thank you, Chair.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, a lot on the agenda today. Just very quickly, I wanted to recognize a number of businesses and individuals in McKinleyville with these certificates of recognition. First is Kathy Thornhill as the Ambassador of the Year. Next, we have Greg and Christy Orsini with the Azalea Award, a very coveted award there in McKinleyville. And then we have the Maker's Space for excellence in community services, and the Folk School, also for excellence in community services, and the Seagoat Farm Stand, also for excellence in community service. And then we have Redwood Community Pharmacy for the Customer Service Award, and Borges Family Homestead for the Home-Based Business of the Year, and Two Feathers Native American Family Services for the Nonprofit of the Year, and Loop Central for Small Business of the Year, and Eureka Natural Foods for Large Business of the Year. And I congratulate all of those award winners. Thank you.
Thank you. And bringing it back to the room, is there anyone in the room that, or in the chamber here, that wants to speak to any of these items that are on the consent calendar that haven't had a chance to speak to any of those items? Seeing none, I'm bringing it back to the board to looking for a motion in a second, and any other comments. Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I'll make a motion, but I also have a comment if somebody wants to second that.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. And then my comment is just that while we didn't read the proclamation for Jean and Betty Sinistrero, they both were born here in Humboldt County, raised 6 sons here, and together Jean and Betty Sinistrero built a life centered on hard work, service, and generosity, supporting local youth and the future of agricultural through scholarships and mentorship, and inspiring generations through their examples. And it's very important, you know, this is they've been instrumental in Humboldt County, and I just really want to say those few words. So thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. The Jean and Betty Sinistrero were also recognized and were present at the League of Women Voters State of the Community Luncheon this year, and it was really nice to hear all this detail and stories about their work in the community and their legacy. So thank you for recognizing them.
Okay, Supervisor Bone.
I've had the pleasure of knowing them for over 50 years, very large dairy farmers out in the day, out in the Elk River. As we're spending all this money in Elk River, you want to ground truth something, talk to Jean or Betty. They took care of the drainage coming off the golf course. They have quite the history, very, very big in Sons of Italy, very big in the Farm Bureau, very big in the Farm Bureau. So years ago, there's a young man named Dane White who became the president of the FFA National. Came out of Eureka High. His dad worked at the pulp mill. His mom worked in an optometry office, and he rented 5 acres from Jean, and in 4 years became the president of the FFA. We have a better chance of getting somebody to win multiple gold medals in the Olympics than being president of the FFA. It is a huge 80, 90, 100,000. It was a huge deal, but he got it with a start from Jean raising a beef cow out there, and now he's an ag teacher himself. So Jean and Betty they are Humboldt. And then I had a question of our CAO on item number 15. The ADA, out of your office, the ADA for the ag building. Was local preference played into this? Because I noticed it's a $20,000 difference on a $1.6 million bid for a local contractor, and we would probably make that much up in sales tax, because I imagine somebody out of Stockton's going to bring most of their materials up here on the back of a trailer, and a local contractor might be. And we used a out-of-town contractor when we painted, and the paint started coming off within the first year. So I'm just wondering if, we try to stress local employees. Was the local factor, or did it apply to this?
I see Karen Clower, your ADA coordinator, is on Zoom. No, I'm not sure if she's listening right now. I did not participate in the bidding process on this one, but I can assure you that We followed your board's purchasing policies in selecting the appropriate bid. But I can have Karen swing by and talk with you about that process.
I would like to before we vote on doing this, because that's an $80,000 difference, and it's a $20,000 difference in price, because I think it's a 5% local preference if there's no federal monies involved.
If we can take a 5-minute break, I can go grab staff and.
That would be great, just so we can protect our local businesses also.
Hold on. So is it,
We can still go through public comment and stuff.
hold on. Through our council, is it too late to remove something from consent?
It could still be removed since you haven't voted on it, but we do have the motion pending right now, so that would need to be dealt with.
Okay.
I'll pull my motion back pending a 5-minute break.
Wait. Or you want to keep it on consent, or do you want to just like do it? My recommendation is just to pull this from consent. Let's move through the consent item and bring this back, unless we have an answer right now.
Local preference doesn't apply on capital projects.
I'm
So
gonna-
it's lowest bidder. This is your board's discretion. You can choose whoever you wish for this project if you want to change
Well,
it.
and I have not talked to one person about this job. I just ran the numbers and go, damn, our local guy missed by 20%, and which means we lose on 9% sales tax on all materials bought if they buy them here. But I imagine somebody coming from Stockton's going to come up every weekend, drive up here and go home on the week, and we'll lose the sales tax dollars, we lose the local contractor value.
I appreciate that. We're losing thread here. I just want to what are we doing? Are we discussing this item, or can we just have a motion to have this item pulled? If
Can
you want
I
more
ask
discussion?
Supervisor Bone, do you want this item pulled and we'll talk about it?
No, if there's no local preference, which I think that is something that I would like to be made aware that on capital projects, we should have local preference also, if not anything else.
So that would be an item that would come back.
That will come back, we'll follow through with this bid, but
Okay.
it just pains me to see all that money go to Stockton. Not that I
Okay.
don't like Stockton.
So I'm not going to withdraw my motion, and
Okay.
we have a first and second. And Chair, can you?
Yes, we're gonna move forward unless there's any other comment on anything that's on the consent item. You seem to be prepared to talk about something. I just want to make sure you're.
I'm from DG and Build.
Okay. Do you want to talk? We're about to pass this. Do you want us to? You want to speak to it at all?
Yeah, because in my
Come on up to the microphone. You don't have to say anything. Yeah.
in my contractor list, I have a lot of local contractors too, subcontractors. I am using it, and also we have a house here. I have a house here, so I'm not gonna come every weekend from Stockton. So,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Are you gonna buy your materials locally?
Pardon?
Well, wait. We
no.
we cannot do this right now. This is not appropriate. Either we're going to pull this item and we're going to discuss it, or it's a consent item.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Did you two gentlemen have anything to say about consent items?
Just for Gene Senesfero.
Oh, come on up then. This is your time. This is the moment. Yeah, by all means.
I'm Keith Colomb. I'm financial secretary, historian for Native Sons of the Golden West, Ferndale Parlor 93. Gene has been a member for 79 years, and we just wanted to show our support for Gene and Betty today.
Thank you.
We need all the help we can get.
Thank you.
Always looking for members.
And he's a 43 member of our parlor also.
There's 2 parlors in Humboldt County, and it's Humboldt Parlor 14 and Ferndale 93.
Well, thanks for coming in, and thanks for showing support for
Thank you.
your organization and the long-term members. Anybody else? Yeah, one more? All right. Remember, this is items on the consent calendar. All right, this is it.
Good morning. Thank you, Board. My name is Evan Schwartz, and I just wanted to bring to your attention item number D27 as it relates to 3300 Broadway Street. I think this is a very large decision to remove the Sears property from the retail sector and looking at the need for economic growth here. Not that I'm for any specific entity purchasing that building or not, but I think it's important for the county and the city to retain the retail space that they have there at the existing Bayshore Mall property. It's my understanding there is a corporate entity with a partner that's looking to breathe some economic viability back into that space. I can also understand the need for the county to consolidate services and yards and storage and be efficient. But based on the amount of information that's been presented, this seems like more of a opportunity than a strategy, and I would urge the board to pull 27 from consent for discussion, please. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you for that. Anybody else have comment?
I'll comment. So this item, D27, will come back. This is just the beginning, and it will continue on negotiations through the Board of Supervisors. That this is not a final on this. It just authorizes for negotiations, so it's nowhere close to even being done. Thanks for your comment.
Thank you for your clarification.
Yeah, I just want to say that we're a government organization. We try very hard not to do negotiations behind closed doors. I mean, we have negotiations, but in order for our staff to know that they can actually discuss items related to real estate acquisitions and or sale, we need to give direction, and that's what we're doing today. It is not the end point, or even the process. We have one more comment, and then we're going to vote.
I just wanted to mention that I appreciate the bidder from DGN being here and expressing the local subcontracting component. So thank you for highlighting that.
With that, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair. Supervisor Bone? No. Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Chair Wilson?
Yes, I support everything on the consent calendar, including all the resolutions. Thank
Motion
you.
carries 4-1.
With that, we have a time set that we are now almost 20 minutes late for, but we're going to jump right into it. If we can. And board members, are you okay with that? Okay, let's do it. Just want to make sure we don't have a bio break.
Would you like me to move ahead with this one?
It's yours.
As the sponsor? Great. Well, I know that we have Superintendent of Schools Michael Davies Hughes here. Thank you for being here today, and we're going to receive a report about the state of education in Humboldt County. Just a small little bitty topic. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Chair, supervisors, thank you for having me here this morning. I don't know if we have any slides that are...
We do, and there's a remote to move your slides on the table nearby you.
Oh, thank you.
Here, let us all point.
All right, great. So thank you for having me here again today. I'm going to give a quick snapshot of education in Humboldt County, where we are right now, what's going well, what's challenging us, and where we see the biggest opportunities ahead. So let's start with scope. So Humboldt County serves 30 school districts, 14 charter schools, with about 1,700 students enrolled. And within that total, we're supporting students with very different needs. We have English learners, foster and homeless youth, and students with disabilities. And a major lens for everything that we do in schools is socioeconomic need. So over 60% of our students in Humboldt County are living in poverty. The takeaway here is that our work is both broad and necessarily specific. So there's some real progress worth celebrating, and one headline indicator is that of graduation. Our high school graduation rate is almost 92% compared with 87.5% statewide. We've also expanded our student success through Career and Technical Education, or CTE, which helps students connect learning to real outcomes. And our partnerships are growing too, both cross-county and regional, such as with Cal Poly Humboldt and CR, which expands options and strengthens alignment from K-12 into post-secondary options. So we've widened access to learning opportunities through programs like Expanded Learning, and we've invested in the talent pipeline through teacher residency programs. And again, overall here, we're making progress through strong outcomes, strong partnerships throughout the county. We do have challenges. So even with those successes, we're facing a major system pressure, and that is declining student enrollment. Our schools are primarily funded on average daily attendance, or ADA, or in layman's terms, butts in seats. So in Humboldt County, our enrollment has been declining since late 1990s. And interestingly, our student enrollment in 2026 is about the same as it was 45 years ago in 1981. So if we have less students attending, then we have less funds to support our schools, which has implications for staffing stability and program offerings and long-term stability. And unfortunately, our declining enrollment has recently resulted in the closure of 2 schools. Greenpoint Elementary District closed in June after over 100 years in operation. And most recently, this past February, Agnes J. Johnson Charter School had to close mid-year, which has a huge impact on students and families. So you might ask, where are these students going? Well, it's a fact that our charter school enrollment is increasing, but there's still an overall net decrease in the number of students that we have attending schools in our county. And as these patterns change, we need to focus on equitable access and consistent quality across our schools. So beyond enrollment, we're navigating some other challenges that directly affect learning conditions. The first is chronic absenteeism. So this is the percentage of students that miss 10 or more school days in a year. And that number is high, so 25.5%, so over a quarter of our students are chronically absent, compared with 19.4 statewide. That's lost instructional time and a signal that students and families need stronger support. Second, we serve a higher percentage of students with disabilities, 17.5% compared with 13% statewide. That means we need staffing, expertise, and consistent services that are hard to maintain in a rural setting. Third, the need for mental health supports is increasing. We've seen that across the board, and schools are often the place where students and families show up first. And finally, recruitment and retention remains a critical constraint. Teachers and administrators are hard to hire and even harder to keep without the right conditions and supports. So the bottom line here is that students' needs are increasing while the capacity is under strain. So our strategy has to address both at the same time. So despite these challenges, there are clear opportunities that we can lean into. One is AI. It's not just a buzzword, but it is a practical tool to help educators work smarter, personalize learning, and improve operations if we implement it responsibly and with training. We also want to strengthen early education because we know that we can make the biggest long-term difference in a student's life by early support and early intervention. Another priority is expanding dual enrollment. So this is the opportunity for students to get both college credit and high school graduation credit. Especially important in rural communities like ours. And we're also focused on maximizing the resources that we have at the Humboldt County Office of Education to support our districts and charter schools. So finally, we want to keep expanding CTE opportunities because pathways that connect learning to careers are one of the most powerful engagement strategies we have. And in close, I'd just like to thank you, supervisors, for your partnership and the way in which you support the students of Humboldt County. I'm happy to take any questions or provide any clarifications.
Great.
Bringing it back to the board, any questions or clarifications before I move it to public comment?
Thank you for the report. I'm just curious, in the last 2 to 3 years, if you have an update on the drop in enrollment compared, to kind of like, you have it from a big snapshot, but
Yeah,
just,
we do.
yeah, just kind of the last few years, because I know that our, the amount of folks in Humboldt are pretty, dropping, so I'm just curious if you have something.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was looking at the statistic for, so in 1981, what our population was by census in 1980, and population now, and that we've had about a 10% increase in overall population in that 45-year span, and yet our student population is as it was back then. So we've had some decrease. Now, this is not an anomaly or just unique for Humboldt County. Across the state, student populations are dropping for a variety of different reasons. And I think they're different in each county. I think here, we know the birth rate is dropping. There are obviously economic pressures. I mean, what is going to draw young families into Humboldt County? So how is our demographic change affecting that? We do see some districts that are stable in their enrollment and others that are dropping pretty precipitously. So there's no real standard, but across the county overall, we just see that drop year to year.
Thank you for that.
Supervisor Bone?
Yeah, I always like the statistic. I think it's 1960. I think we had 107,000 people in Humboldt County. The state had 14 million. State's bouncing on 40 million now, and we're bouncing at 135. We are not keeping our end of the bargain up, and I'm so thankful for that. But it's affected. When we had 50 years ago, I can say this, 55 years ago, 6 years, we had Zane, Winship. We had schools busting at the seams. I mean, they had just closed Jacobs in the late 60s, I believe. But we had schools building, opening, expanding. That gave us a lot of these 15-year portables that are still in operation. And now what COVID did, and that's the big elephant in the room, we all went to computer learning, which opened the door for charter schools, which opened the door for people not to come to brick and mortar. I know most of the charter schools, but there are a lot of charter schools that are homeschooling, and I didn't see homeschooling up there because the homeschooling numbers have skyrocketed too, because I know you guys provide the curriculum for a lot of those, right? I mean, I'm just guessing, I should say. Is that accurate?
We don't, not for, so that
Okay.
those home schools are really private schools. So the way that you open a home school or private school in California, you can apply to the state and sign an affidavit, and you
Yep.
can open your own home school of one student, and
Yes.
that's its own private school. There are requirements that you have to provide a curriculum, and when we're asked, we can certainly share that information with those who
Do we
are
have
willing.
homeschool numbers?
Difficult to track.
Yeah.
Difficult to track, but those numbers are increasing also.
I know quite a few people that are homeschooling, and as well you do. I can think of a couple in 4-H FFA that have families of 3 and 4, and they're homeschooling, and they just figure it's better for their children's environment, whatever the case may be on that. But I know that's also helps in the decline because obviously we have more people. We should have a few more kids. But it does show up in not just education, it shows up in after school programs, sports, FFA, 4-H, a lot of those don't have the numbers that they used to have, except I think 4-H and FFA are doing a wonderful job. But with those things, I was just wondering on the homeschool numbers. And I appreciate the Office of Education. I know some of the homeschoolers do turn to your resource center for a lot of their curriculum because I said, where do you get your curriculum? So those are bright spots, but not bright spots for the brick and mortar and for what we're trying to do overall. So, and for them to keep up. I mean, AI, do we know if these people have, because I mean, you cannot start the day without somebody mentioning AI. I don't care if you pull on CNN or CNBC or Fox every morning. I watch all three of them starting fairly early, and it's always something about AI. And now 80%, 90% of people use AI. I'm that outlier. I don't know how to do that, so. Thank you for being here, Michael. I appreciate it, and I need your son's phone number because I've got a couple auctions for him.
All right, well, note that every time you do an internet search, you are using AI. Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. I really appreciate the overview and kind of being able to hit on some highlights. I am curious, a little bit more about how HCOE works with the different districts to determine the pathway for potential changes in what school campuses remain open. And obviously when we hear that one is closing, we or faced with potential closure, we get a lot of input from folks. But since since education is sort of outside of our scope, it's often a surprise, or I'd like to understand the process a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can give you just some specific examples. So Greenpoint, for example, that closed at the end of June this past year. They closed, there's different ways in which schools close. One is lapsation. Lapsation is when the ADA, or the average daily attendance, goes below 6 students. And Greenpoint had 3 students. And you can apply for a waiver to keep a school open, but ultimately there needs to be some prospect of increasing enrollment. And Greenpoint applied for a waiver for the previous year. They tried all that they could to enroll more students, but there simply aren't a lot of students down there in Redwood Valley. And so it was almost inevitable at that point. So they had to take a resolution as their own board, and then it came to the county board, and then it goes to another committee called the County Committee on School District Organization, which ultimately is responsible for organization of school districts in Humboldt County, including consolidation of districts, unification of districts, or dissolution of districts. So it is, it's a long process, it's a months-long process, but ultimately, it does result in closure when they don't have enough students. There are opportunities for consolidation. So that's when you have school districts, either elementary school districts that are coming together, or unification, where you have an elementary and a high school district coming together. And we've had those happen over the years. In the early 1900s, there were close to 100 school districts in Humboldt County. Like every mill town had a one-room schoolhouse, right? And so as those mills closed, the industries changed, then those schools did close also. But we haven't seen anything in recent years up until this last year. And I'm concerned that we're going to continue to see that school closure occurring either sooner or later, unless we are being proactive and thinking about consolidation and unification. And it's hard for for folks to think about that, because the identity that you have that's associated with your own school and your own district. And keep in mind that every one of these 30 school districts and 14 charter schools have their own board, right? Board of trustees, board of directors for the charter schools. It's hard to find people to fill those positions. And then you also have, necessarily, you're going to have an administrator at each one of those schools. So there's economies of scale that you can have by having schools that consolidate. And right now we have consolidation of services, transportation, food service, business services. But I think we're going to need to think about a step further than that, and actually looking at consolidation of districts.
I think part of my question that I didn't fully articulate was sort of what role does HCOE play in that, and what does the individual school district or districts, if they're consolidating, play?
Yeah, so it really is primarily driven by the school districts. So HCOE is there to support, provide information, facilitate discussions. But in the case where 2 or more school districts were to consider consolidation, that would be something that those district boards would need to come together and say, you know what? We'd like to have a conversation about what this might look like. And then we would help with that exploration of consolidation. And then ultimately, it's up to the County Committee on School District Organization, that's that other committee, to make decisions and approve any kind of reorganization of a school district. But HCOE's role is one of supporting through the process. We don't have the authority or the jurisdiction to say, thou shalt come together and consolidate, or thou shalt close. I mean, most of those things are dictated by education code. And then for Humboldt County, that's the County Committee on School District Organization that makes those decisions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Bushnell?
I think my question about ADA reflects around the southern Humboldt area where you just had a charter school close last month. And it was, and thank you for all the communication that I was able to have with you and trying to process and get through that. Especially in the southern Humboldt area where we've seen the cannabis culture really decline. We've seen a lot of folks move in the school. The schools are really impacted by that, and it's been a painful process for that community to realize that those little niche areas where they had a lot of financial support and a lot of attendance or ADA just isn't happening any longer. And like what Supervisor Arroyo was saying, it's a process to close a school, and the support that your organization gives is so important in navigating that and to try to relocate those children and their families to a different school district in that same area. So thank you for this update and all the continued work that you do for Humboldt County.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, I'm going to put this out to public comment.
Thank you, Chair. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, Kemp Sawatsky. Both of my parents were teachers, one in high school and the other up at now it's Cal Poly. So I've been connected with the educational process extensively my whole life, embedded in it. According to my math, of our property tax, 62.5% of it goes to the education, 2.5 to cities. I can't remember what the county gets. It's 13 point something. COVID totally changed the educational process. I saw my autistic grandchildren that had been not necessarily getting the help they tried, but that they needed, sitting down with mother and grandma at the table, and their scholastic ability went through the roof, one-on-one. That is the future of education if you have qualified parents to do it. I've seen some extremely smart little children, most of them on the spectrum, by coincidence, but they're turning into rocket scientists. The brother and sister frequently learn at the same rate, or brother and brother, maybe 3 years different, so that the younger child is achieving the level of excellence of the older child. Things need to change in our education if you're going to continue to have public education whatsoever. I think there should be a program where Humboldt County asks education people, can you educate people to do certain jobs for us, whatever it is. I think you need to listen like we need dispatchers, that was mentioned this morning. Classes for children who are freshmen in high school need to be headed toward maybe a trade rather than something else. All they have to be is phone literate. That's all anybody has to be today as far as math, and anything else goes. But until we change our educational process along that line, allegedly 31% or something of the white-collar jobs are going to go away because of AI, which is artificial intelligence. For those of us, we deal with real AI, which is autistic intelligence. And these changes are going to happen. Otherwise, our country will continue to fall behind other countries that are actually adapting way faster than we are. And so I highly recommend that you look at your system and cater to people getting jobs, starting when they're a freshman in high school or even in elementary school. So there's the opportunity to speak on education today.
That's on Zoom, Chair.
All right, if we have comment in the room, please come to the podium.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Alexandra Profon, and I couldn't help but participate in this public comment. I believe that the attrition rate going on in public schools has a large part to do with homes being stolen and put into real estate investment trusts and converted to transient occupant use Airbnbs. It affects the census counts. it affects children being available to go to local schools. I can say so firsthand because it is affecting our child and where she is going to school and where she went to school. So when children do not want to go to school because they're being harassed by people alleging to have a right to own a home, they show up at your doorstep with false court paper, pretending to have a right to evict you. The evictions are also false. The court paper is false. It's downloaded online. It says on the front, served by fax. In order for court paper to be served by fax, it means that the other party actually has to agree to have the lawsuit and summons served by fax. All of these things, if you're not an attorney and well-versed at this, at a front door, you would not know.
I'm losing the thread on how this is connected to
Children get
education.
affected when these people are harassing you at your home persistently. Our daughter went from a 5.0 grade point average, Ferndale, future farmer leader, to not wanting to go to school. The truancy rate went up enormously when this was happening all over the county. I know this because Maggie Fleming spoke to it and had a truancy court. So I spoke on this public comment because this is being overlooked, and I'd like you to start focusing on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Anybody else? Speaking to the state of the state for schools in Humboldt County.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Peter Profont. I'm Alexandra's husband. I submit this comment written and spoken with time constraints into the record this day, April 14th, 2026. In good faith, as an attempt to mitigate damages to all parties, my wife, Alexandra, and I are tax-paying citizens. We have contributed to the prosperity, safety, and health of our private forest land and our California bungalow here in Humboldt County. The complexity of broken laws and code violations, I allege, were used in order to take my property.
Can we bring this to the subject at hand, which is the report on schools in Humboldt County?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm out of order.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was being called forward to speak in a public comment capacity.
On just this, we have an open public comment section that's coming later for things not on the agenda.
Oh, my apologies.
It's okay.
I'll be back.
Common mistake. It's all right.
Yeah.
We'll be
All right.
here. All right. With that, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Superintendent, if you could come back up, please, for a minute. I have a couple questions for you. This is the privilege of the chair to go last, I guess. A couple of things. As I completely relate to your conversation around consolidation, and it's not just schools. We also have this with fire districts as well, and the change in population, but also just really needing to have efficient administration, because there's just only so many people that can do the paperwork to run these institutions, and what we need to get that done. So I just want to say I appreciate the challenge that you have with that. On the issue or the discussion about out of district and charter schools, one of the impacts that we've seen, at least here, is around traffic. And it's interesting that when we move, when we talk about how things used to be, and when I was a young person, I'd take the bus to school from Garberville to South Fork. I think Michelle also, well, you were a school bus driver and so it's an interesting change that we've seen in terms of how we're transporting young people to these destinations, and now it's just really more in single vehicles, and it's creating these traffic jams and commute issues, and then we're seeing conflicts in sort of land use where people are saying, well, I don't want more housing over here because it might impact the children in the school, but really what they're talking about is the traffic in terms of the drop-off and the pickups. So I'm just kind of wondering, my question to you is, and also, we made all those changes without CEQA review. We made all those changes. They just happened. We didn't really analyze the impacts that would occur. And are you seeing any sort of changes now? Are people going back to thinking about where their proximity and how they're actually getting kids to and from school? And one last thing about that is, in your absenteeism, is there any link between whether the absenteeism is more prevalent in kids that are further distance from the school that they're going to?
Yeah, so let me take the first point.
Yeah.
Although I don't have any kind of statistics,
Yeah.
I will say that we have in Humboldt County and across the state the opportunity for inter-district transfers. So that is students who can attend a district other than their district of residence. And so we have many students, over 1,500 students out of those 17,000 that attend schools through an inter-district transfer agreement, which means they're going not just across town, but perhaps between towns in order to, you know, take their child to and from school. So, you know, there are impacts for that in terms of transportation. Most of the school, even though we're not required to transport students, you know, people commonly understand that school districts are required to provide transportation. We are not required, but most do, especially in a rural county like Humboldt, where the geographic isolation is, you know, means that if we didn't have home to school transportation, then some students wouldn't be able to get to school. So that is being provided. I don't know if I answered your question on that in terms of
yeah, you did. I was just kind of wondering about do you see any connection with absenteeism in terms of like how far a student is from their school?
No, not. I mean, again, there's so many factors that come into play with that. Who's transporting them? How they're getting to school? But the further a student is away from the school that they're attending, you know, the more factors that can come into play that can prevent them from going to school. I'll give you an example. So Greenpoint, that closed in June. So those 3 students, that district got lapsed into Blue Lake district. So the closest school from the homes of those students, and those 3 students lived at the end of Redwood Valley. So it's a ways down in there. So the closest school for them was Blue Lake Elementary School, which is almost an hour's drive each way, and not an easy drive, right? So winter conditions where the roads washes out, you know, those are the kinds of things that can impact a student's ability to be able to go to school. But home to school transportation, if it's offered by the district, can mitigate the effects of that.
Yeah.
But I will say that, you know, we have a high rate of poverty. I talked about that 60%. I mean, some families who may be living outside of the district boundaries, school transportation may not be provided. They're going to have some transportation challenges that other families may not.
And speaking to that, you know, again, the high school that Supervisor Bushnell and I went to, South Fork, you know, it was located in its location because it was central, and no one actually knew where the population center was going to be because as you were saying, like the mills would pop up or this, that, and the other, and so they just kind of put it in the center. And now young people come from Alder Point and from Shelter Cove, talk about an hour, it's more than an hour to get there and back. So I appreciate that. One last question I have for you. When are we going to have cell phones out of the classrooms in Humboldt County?
I'm glad you asked that, Chair. There's actually state law that's in place right now that limits or restricts the use of cell phones in the classroom. And we're seeing more and more board policies. There's a kind of a phase-in time for that law to be implemented in schools. But we see across Humboldt counties that districts are implementing restrictions on cell phone use. And from the anecdotal information that I have in conversations with superintendents and principals is that it's overwhelmingly been a positive move. So for example, at Eureka High School, I was having a conversation with Principal Standish about students who are in the hallway, and you know Eureka High School has these hallways, as many of our high schools do, our older high schools do, and students are actually having conversations with one another, not their heads down, walking the hallways. We're seeing more conversation occurring in the classroom, less disruption, and students just being able to focus.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it'll actually reduce absenteeism because you're going to create a space where young people have to be in order to be connected. right? If you feel like you can connect with everybody on your phone, then why bother coming to school? And so I'm just saying, like, I feel like this is important, and I'm hoping that all the districts don't just go to the minimum state standard on this, but actually really activate and remove this this terrible blight on our schools. I have to tell you, it's having 2 kids gone through recently. I can't tell you enough how I wished our schools would have enforced more strongly on this. So,
Yeah. I think the tide is
please do what you can.
turning on that, Chair.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion to receive and file, and any last comments.
I will make a motion to receive and file, and then my last comment would be, you want to go ahead and second?
I'll second.
My last comment would be the Southern Humboldt Unified District is you have to drop your phone when you get to school, and you can pick your phone up when you leave. My grandson just got his phone taken away, and he was calling me and thought Nana was going to be on his side. Absolutely not. And it is working down there very well, and it is a great thing that I don't go to the schools there and see kids on their phones or kids on their phones in the hallway. And I think Supervisor Wilson is right. When I was a young girl, and I think we all can, I went to school for social because I was isolated on a ranch, and so I got to go to school and be with my friends and have a social, interaction. And if I had had a phone, you get that social on your phone, although it's not person to person. And so I do think that Supervisor Wilson's thoughts are on point. So, and thanks again for the presentation and the conversation today.
Likewise.
All right, we're going to do a roll call vote.
Can I say something?
100%.
As a parent, if you're concerned about it, instead of putting the burden on the school, and the thing is, don't buy your kids a phone or make them leave it at home before they leave. And what we're doing is doing a situation where we have elapsed enrollment, less money to operate with, and now we're putting a regulatory effect on them. Would you please pick up the phones, hand out the phones, and make sure nobody uses their phone? So as a parent, if your concerns are really deep, tell Johnny to leave the phone, and you can get it when you get home. That's another way to look at it.
I wish it was that easy. Supervisor Bushnell.
Yeah, I'm just have a little comment. In the rural areas especially, I track my grandson with his phone, and he goes off and does his thing, and I can look at and see where he's at. I can go pick him up. And so I do understand Supervisor Bone's comment. However, in today's world, there's a time and place for them, and most of us have 360 on our phones with our family members so that we can know where they're at. And it's, also, if my grandson gets dropped off in Bloxburg and Papa's not there to pick him up, he calls him 5 miles from the gate and says, come get me. And so phones are necessary in today's world, but there is a time and place for them, like has been said. And I understand, with both members of your family working, it's nice to be able to have your child say, I'm home, locked in, whatever. And so there's a time and place for him, but it definitely is not at school.
Great debate. Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair. Supervisor Bone?
Hold on one second. I didn't ask if Supervisor Madrone had anything to say. I apologize, Steve.
That's okay. I have nothing more to add.
All right, thanks, buddy. All right. With that, roll call vote, please.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Supervisor Arroyo, for sponsoring this.
What was your vote, Supervisor Bone?
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Chair Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We're falling farther behind.
Can we have a 5-minute break? I'm
Well,
sorry.
we'll have more than a 5-minute break we can have a 5-minute break, but we're going to have a closed session. Can we just roll into closed session? If you want to step out, we only need 3 of us here. All right, we're going to roll into closed session now because it's time set for 10:30 and it is now 10:54. So let's do that. Let's get into closed session and then we'll come back.
I'm sorry, Chair. Can you update the audience of the process? I see
Yes.
them all kind of.
All right, so the process is we're going to go into closed session because we have some time sets on that. When we get back from closed session, we are going to go into the next items, which are, sorry, let me grab my...
Non-consent item,
Yep.
public comment on non-consent.
Public comment on non-consent items, and then We have a discussion on, sorry, there's lots of stuff going on here. National time certain. Where's the item for, discuss the consider establishing a Humboldt County Universal Representative Fund. That'll be the first thing after public comment, and then discuss and approve proposed amendments to our REDEX Joint Powers Agreement. So that'll be after. And how long do we think we will be in closed session?
Could be up to an hour.
Could be up to an hour. So we will try and be back here by noonish, if that's possible, but it could be noon 30. Okay? Does that seem reasonable? All right, walk us into this.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. The board intends to meet in closed session regarding the following matters. Conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 to grant authority to its negotiators regarding the price and terms of payment for the purchase of real property located at 3300 Broadway Street, Eureka, California, 95501. And also conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D in the following cases. Kyra F. Kelly versus Humboldt County Sheriff's Department. That's Humboldt County Superior Court case number CV 2600104. And the case of Redwood Oil Company versus Board of Supervisors of the County of Humboldt. Humboldt County Superior Court case number CV 2600683. Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment on these items that we're going into closed session for?
There is, Chair. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
I think I'll work from the bottom up. I think you've got something in the ringer here regarding this case of Redwood Oil Company. I think that the county's made some major mistakes in their process, and you may take that in consideration if you consider buying your way out of a lawsuit. I recommend you may do that. Back to the conference with real property negotiators regarding 3300 Broadway. You're going to be quote unquote identified as negotiating with HMO Partners LP, which I think on the 26th or sometime thereabouts goes to the courthouse steps, and will no longer have any ability to negotiate, is my understanding. Most likely Wells Fargo or their liquidation subsidiary will be engaging. And this is what I do. I consider if I didn't have so lack of a faith in Humboldt County's financial viability, I would be involved with a group of people, not on the courthouse step, but negotiating with Wells Fargo and their thing. This is something I guess some of you probably don't have a clue about what's going on here. Of course, according to the strongly, I'm pleased to see you pulled a prelim. I guess the land's appraised on this one at 1.750. Improvements $3.5 million is what the value is on your tax roll. Has nothing to do with what it would sell for. I don't think you're going to be able to bid against Home Depot at all should they decide they wish this property. But I guess, and I'm not sure it's even the right location, being in the tsunami zone down there. I know you keep grabbing, and I totally support you having a one place to shop. I don't think this is the place. I think where you'll be able to move forward. I guess unless you take a shot at it, you won't know. So best of luck with that one. You're most likely going to be competing with the big boys on this one, should they feel that this asset would be at all valuable in the future. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Great. Anyone in the house?
I still have one more, Chair.
Oh, never mind. Let them jump in here.
Thank you. 3053, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, Thomas Mulder. I just want to confirm you can hear me in there in the chamber.
Yes.
I take little offense to that. It wouldn't be the first time the chair has tried to skip over my comments. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You know I'm here. Perceived perception. It's strategic, the way this agenda was set up, that public comment hasn't really been participated in yet. That's unfortunate. As far as the purchase of real property, it would be great if Humboldt County had ADA compliant parking and bathrooms the same way that they make others comply, business owners in Humboldt County. That would be great. So I'm in support of that. Do I think you guys are going to pull it off? I doubt it. It'd be real nice, though, perceived perception, if you give a time certain for public comment on non-agendas. I think it'd do great for the community and great for the constituents, because perceived perception is, I don't know, someone could probably file a lawsuit, and, you know, if they feel that they're continually not allowed to speak their constitutional right by the way the chair sets up the agenda. I don't know. But good luck in closed session. Would really appreciate a time certain. Sounds like there was some people that have some duress in their household there in the chambers that want to speak. So maybe a little bit of gratitude might go a long ways. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. That's all, Chair.
I appreciate that. Is there anyone in the House that wants to speak on items that are going into closed session? This is your time.
Thank you, Board. I'll keep it brief. Evan Schwartz again, speaking to number 2 on the negotiations for the property at 3300 Broadway. I just really urge this board to consider the economic impact of removing that Sears space from retail productivity and contributions to tax base, and also look and see if there's other properties available within the county, City of Eureka, and incorporated Humboldt County, that are not as expensive, high traffic, zoned for retail use already, that would possibly serve as better alternatives, and to consider, you know, going against the staff recommendation and considering the alternative, which is not to proceed in trying to purchase this property. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Alexandra Profont, speaking on this agenda item. I'm not sure what the budget is for the county in order to be able to make any kind of an offer on real estate, but the sheriff's office is closed now and has been defunded in part. And I would suggest you taking your funds and actually doing something regarding the law enforcement in this county and supporting them with that money. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, we are going to go into closed session. We will be back hopefully by noon. That will be our goal. Thank you. We're going to take some people might need. And we, depending on how long things go, you may have to take over here. Depending on how long this goes. Time to put your camera on. Okay. Mr. Black, are we ready to roll? We're getting to Kaylee too. Kaylee, you ready to do it? And there was someone from before mentioned that they thought I could see who was waiting. I don't have a screen, so for that. So I'm not looking at the Zoom lineup. If anyone, I'm relying on Kaylee for that. All right, can we have a report out from closed session?
Thank you, Chair Wilson. For item J2, the board authorized the Office of County Counsel to defend the case of Kyra F. Kelly versus the Humboldt County Sheriff's Department. The vote was 5-0 in favor. For item J3, the board authorized the Office of County Counsel to defend the case of Redwood Oil Company versus Board of Supervisors et al., and the vote was 4-1 with Supervisor Bone dissenting, and no other reportable actions were taken.
Great. All right. Well, now we're moving on to items not on consent, public comment. 3 minutes. We're going to start online, and if we have anyone online that's prepared for that, please bring them in.
Thank you, Chair. Caller 2611. I will unmute you, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Hope everybody's having a great day. Thank you, Michelle, for the little prior Facebook happy birthday message. That was very sweet and thoughtful of you. I'd like to put out a promotion and support for 5th District Supervisor candidate Evan Schwartz. He was really amazing, getting back to me, knowing I'd like to just get to know him a little better. And one thing that was a really fresh air with him was it wasn't so much about why he's running, it was more about why he would like me to run and my thoughts and concerns with our district. And doesn't have a political platform that is based off of a profession, more as a constituent of our community. And I think that's something that is a very valuable asset as we move forward with a lot of unfortunate situations. I wish we had more applicants for supervisors. That's really disheartening that we only ended up with so little. I am really concerned as well about participation. It is extremely hard to be doing this calling in. You can't, it's just so frustrating. I don't understand, if we're talking about AI in schools, why we don't have Zoom available for the public. I see Steve's on Zoom today. Why can't I be on Zoom too? And calling out the people that are online first for public comment is really inappropriate. The people that are there in the room should always have first priority. Us people online are always going with flags. Like the last commentary on the floor, my call got dropped on me. That wasn't my fault. And when I called back in, my hand was raised and I never was called on. So I really don't like that calling platform. I know it might work for some, but all the meetings I do all over the state, it's ridiculous that our supervisors doesn't have a Zoom option. So I'm gonna keep tooting that horn. People inside get to talk first, and we need Zoom. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, that was Julie Christie who just spoke there. She spends a lot of time in public forums, HCOG and all kinds of statewide and things. And the tools we need are not necessarily there. And a prime example of if people say, well, if the county supervisors want your opinion, they'll beat it out of you. Prime example is today, I agree with Thomas Mulder. Number one, that public comment on non-agenda items should be time set, not happening at 12:54 after someone was hoping to be out of there by 9:30 or 10 at the latest. I agree with Julie Christie's comment that the people in the room should speak first. That gives the people who may not be totally ready to push their hand up instantly the chance to go ahead and get involved in the process. It's quite apparent that you don't want us to participate. And, it doesn't really bother me when, when I call in all the time and little Miss Roller Derby there rolls her eyes at, people in the room. That's a compliment to me. Mandy Mager used to do the same thing on the Blue Lake City Council. She'd shake her head when we were speaking and stuff. And again, we saw what happened with regarding her no longer being there. I did wish to make a final comment here. The AI, or Autistic Intelligent Think Tank, came up with a way to cut your gas prices in half. All that we need is the people in Washington, D.C. to put 100% tariff on the export of all petroleum products out of our jurisdiction in the United States, and you would see we would have deflation, and your gas prices would be leading that by going down probably by half. So I don't know who's running this nation, and I don't know who's running the county sometimes, but it doesn't seem to be top shelf people always are really able to think outside the box. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Caller 6895, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Greetings, this is Carol Schmidt, and I just wanted to, I live in McKinleyville, and I did want to back up what was just said about having Zoom. I've worked for public agencies and been involved in having Zoom access is much more helpful to the public, and then allowing people in the room to speak is very helpful too. I also was wanting to speak about the County Universal Representation Fund. Can someone indicate if this is the correct time or if I need to hold for that?
Yeah, hold on. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes here.
Okay, great. Well, then I'll leave it at that. Thank you all, and I appreciate the work you do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Caller 5166, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, this is Mary Clark. It was the same question as Carol. I am waiting for the Universal Representation Fund and will speak then. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That is all on Zoom, Chair.
All right, we're taking comments in the room, so this is the time if you want to talk about something that is not on the agenda, that either wasn't talked about before or won't be talked about later today. This is your time to do that. Anyone here? All right. Then we're going to get right into the next item, which is to consider establishing a Humboldt County Universal Representation Fund. I know this was brought to us by Supervisor Madrone, but I'll give him a chance to open up. But I do know there's someone here from the public that he is asked to give some representation to that since he can't be here in person. So Supervisor Madrone, you want to open that up and then introduce your guest on that, and then we'll move forward from there.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As you know in your staff report and the letter from some McKinleyville residents, there's an interest in setting up this Universal Representation Fund. And in order to save time, I'm going to go ahead and just give my time to, I believe it's Lisa Dugan, who's here to represent the group that are asking us to consider this option.
All right, Lisa, you want to come up to the microphone and give us a summary of what the proposal might look like?
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor Madrone, for bringing this forward. So this was really kind of a heart-centered action from our neighborhood who have felt really helpless in light of what has happened with the community of Minneapolis with ICE, and out of concern for our neighbors and what they could be facing as a result. And so as a result, we did some research to find out what is available there for help for them. And in the research, we found that I believe 7 or 8 other counties in California have set up these universal representation funds. And the funds have been set up differently in each county. Some are doing solely county-based. Some are partnering with nonprofits, such as like we have here, Central Del Pueblo in their rapid response network. Some are using the funds generically to support immigrant families or families who have had a family member detained. And some are actually being used for the representation of people detained by ICE who are potentially facing deportation, because there's no real representation that can be available to some of those members. And like I said, there's eight different counties that we know of that are currently doing one of the forms of this. And so we thought that it would be really nice to see our county stand with the nonprofits that are doing the work. The only one that I'm aware of right now is Central Del Pueblo, and doing what some of the other counties are doing in our state. So that is really the gist of it. Some of our community, which you may hear from today, also have relatives and friends who live in Minneapolis and who have heard about some of the direct and the ripple effects in their community when these detentions have happened. And so this is our attempt to become involved directly in democracy, and we really appreciate you considering what the county might do to help our citizens. Thank you. Do you want me to stay here for questions?
Yeah, well, hold on one second. I'm just going to bring it back to the board for just a minute, and I'm going to ask their direction. Would you prefer to just hear from the public first, or do you guys want to ask Lisa some questions?
I actually want to ask Steve a question if he's feeling up to it.
Okay. And then the other interjection we have, I probably will leave partway through this item to catch a flight that I need to do. But I'm here for as long as I can be here for. All right. And Vice Chair Arroyo will take over after that.
Thank you. So the recommendation here is to establish or consider establishment of the fund and to provide direction as appropriate. And I do see, Steve, in the staff report that it says that there aren't direct costs associated with the exploration of creating the fund. And it does seem like there might be some steps, hopefully steps we could take expeditiously, but steps in between today and enacting it, because we need to understand to whom we would give funds and how much, and we'd need to have some staff analysis. So I was hoping you could clarify what you're seeking for us to do today. Would it be to direct staff to do additional analysis and work with community members, or what? Because this isn't defined enough for us to, from my perspective, to really take action today, even though I appreciate the intent of it very much. So could you clarify a little bit more?
Yes, I can. And so what I and I think the community are seeking is the simple establishment of the funds. And yes, there would be some minimal staff time in that. But basically, we did talk with the auditor controller, and it is possible to set this fund up. We got that clarification because that's important. And ideally, the funds would come from grants and or donations. But if you don't have a fund set up, it's hard to receive those. Like when funds come in for the animal shelter, for instance, there's a fund for that. So that's really, I think, what we're seeking for today. We know the county budget is not in great shape to be making commitments on a lot of other levels, but frankly, protecting our community is an important element. And so really for today, I think we're just looking for either approval or direction from the board to establish the fund.
Any follow-up to that?
I mean, I think I'd like to hear just from our CAO around what administrative steps you might foresee being part of this to accompany what Supervisor Madrone mentioned here.
And I want to add to the question, which is, what's the difference between why would the county set up a fund and just not having a private entity, nonprofit, have their own fund? Let's get a couple questions out so that you can write them down. Maybe Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for bringing this, and Supervisor Madrone. I also had asked for, because I'm also, like Supervisor Roy, a little confused on it, and so I had asked for the public defender to be here, just because that is naturally who represents people that need that kind of help. Luke isn't here available today, and so I do have some more questions before I would be able to vote on it and move something forward. And I've talked to the CAO about my concerns around that as well. I would love to have a full, very robust conversation, but I do want all the players to be in the room, and which aren't available today. And so I will be asking for maybe this to come back or some better direction when we can have a really robust discussion.
Supervisor Bone.
Well, I'm not privy to a lot of this. I know it says staffing and costs are undetermined, and I've heard minimal and very little, and then I've seen that morph into something more than that. And my issue is, I know there's problems around the country. We've been able to address the problems, I believe, a lot of them. And then there's over 120 agencies that help legally and standings. And then we have our own Centro del Pueblo that is already set up. So I always wonder is why would we, setting up a fund is easy. I mean, at one time, that was the big problem we had. The grand jury said we had too many funds, if I remember right. And so setting up a fund is, but then you still have to maintain that fund, put out reports and everything else. So there's still going to be a cost. You're going to ask for throughput, 3% or whatever, just like any of the other ones, I would imagine. So thank you for that. But Centro del Pueblo, for the issue we're having, or perceived to be having, has been doing a great job from what I understand. And now we're gonna, maybe if somebody's donating to Centro del Pueblo, I said, well, maybe I want to give to this one too. And then we take money away from the strength of Centro del Pueblo, unless somebody's mad at Centro del Pueblo for they're not getting their answers that they want from them. But I know this sounds good and it feels good and everything else. Is it actually needed at this time when Centro del Pueblo, and I don't think they're the only one, who are helping with deportation issues here? And I know fully well I've got a good friend whose future father-in-law maybe was deported or was held for deportation for quite a while. And it didn't seem to be a proper, and they had a heck of a time getting through that, and I think they finally did. So, I mean, that's not like there isn't an issue in Humboldt County. It is an issue, but by dividing the money up even more that's available, is that going to solve the problem, or starting another nonprofit going to start the problem? Because I see nonprofits taking the place of other nonprofits because they didn't like the way this nonprofit was doing, and then they end up both being weaker in the long run. So I need a whole bunch more information.
And I will add one more question from my perspective before we go to public comment, which is if there's a fund that's run through the county, does that mean that its administration has to deal with Brown Act issues, and is there a burden? Because we see that with our lodging alliances and others, in terms of like the process they have to go through. So just something to put in the docket of questions. And Supervisor Arroyo has another question, then we'll move it to public comment.
Thank you. I think defining these things helps a little bit with the public being able to comment on something that's most aligned with what we might take action on. So I really appreciate the time to kind of suss this out. I definitely feel that this is coming, as Lisa said, from a place of heart and care for community. And I want to make sure that whatever we're doing is effective and able to be administered quickly, because county contracting does take some time. So if, for example, we were to contract with a legal entity to provide services directly, if we were the one doing that, that might be not as responsive as what the community is looking for from this. And so I think one question I would have for those of you who have taken this on as a community effort is there an existing organization that could receive funds that would be able to carry out this work better than we could, to which we could, contribute or provide support? And then, what might an initial action like that look like as far as seeding funding? And then, I think it's probably to everyone's benefit if we support organizations that already have that community trust in building it up more and providing services for folks. And then to the comment about the public defender, I would be interested to hear his thoughts. I think, some of the actions related to what the public defender's responsibilities are might be tied to immigration, in that if someone were accused of a crime, they might be more easily targeted for deportation. So there is the nexus there, but a lot of these other matters are civil processes, and we don't have, to my knowledge, a lot of immigration attorneys locally. So I'm also interested in, how could those, what's the vision for how those services could be provided? And maybe that's something you're still exploring, but it would be great to hear a little bit more about that. And then lastly, with Measure K, because of the provision related to individuals and their children, and the affidavits in there and some of the processes to allow for families to determine who will care for their children should they be subject to immigration actions. I'm interested to know kind of what the nexus is there to support families with doing that documentation. So those are a few of the questions that come to mind, like kind of first and foremost.
And I agree that we want to move as quickly as we can, but also just need to understand that a little bit better.
And I think probably one or two more questions from our board before we move into public comment. But I have to go. I got to catch a plane. I just want to say really clearly that our community does have a responsibility to help respond and support our community members that are, and this isn't just people who are immigrants. These are also people who are family and friends and the community at large. We're all feeling that stress and that strain and that anxiety. And I just have to say very clearly, the current federal policies and implementation right now are just sowing chaos and cultural and economic damage to our communities. And so we just have to be cognizant of that. And hopefully, while we're still responding to that issue, I want to make sure that we're also seeking better policy and better resolution moving forward and how we deal with these issues. With that, I got to step out, but and Supervisor Arroyo is going to take over from here. Thank you so much for doing that.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. Lisa, I would be interested in hearing your thoughts around what the board said, and then I also will ask, because I did reach out through the CAO to our public defender, and so I think that she could update us a little bit. But I do want to say that I align myself with some of Supervisor Arroyo's thoughts, and I saw you out there saying, yes, that sounds good. You know, I understand that. So what are your thoughts with what you've heard?
So, I think when we did this research, we didn't have the nuts and bolts of how this would work, although we see that other counties have supported monetarily their rapid response network nonprofit. So Supervisor Bone was talking about splitting the funding and taking it from them, but it would actually be to help supplant or to help create greater funding, because there has been some state money available, but it's very highly, you know how state funding is, right? It's highly earmarked for very specific, probably does not cover some of the folks that you were talking about, Supervisor Arroyo, and will likely be gobbled up by LA and the larger counties. We know as a small county that we're often the very, at the very end of the funding rope as far as having funding available. So the intent really would be to potentially, if the counties saw fit, to not be doing it all themselves and having to do all the contract work, but to work with an agency potentially that's already doing that. So that was, I think, more of what we were thinking. And so with the counties, some counties are doing just that. Some are doing it all themselves. And I would think, being a small enough county, we wouldn't want to have to do all that administrative work, and yet I'm guessing there probably really aren't enough resources at Central Del Pueblo that they would be appreciative of that too. However, one of the drawbacks is that, in crafting this letter, we didn't think to reach out to them, so it would be really interesting to see what they had to say, as well as our public defender, to see who they would potentially be able to represent and how this, if the county saw fit to create this fund, what that would mean from that perspective. Does that help?
That does. I'm wondering if, and through the vice chair, the thoughts around, I don't feel ready to vote today on something, and I really want us to come back when we have all of those pieces in place. And I'm wondering how, since you kind of, got Supervisor Madrone to bring this forward, how would you feel about it coming back when we have more information in place?
I agree. I think it would be most useful to be able to hear, gather some more information, hear from some of the people who would potentially be impacted, or this would be helpful to.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I completely get it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Bone, do you have any other questions or comments before we go to public comment? Okay, and then I did mention CAO Hayes, so I just want to hear anything you might have to add before we go to public comment.
Sure. Yeah, the public defender indicates that they would represent somebody who has immigration challenges in their criminal cases. It's also their duty to advise those clients of immigration consequences of their criminal cases. They do at times seek outside assistance from immigration attorneys on complex in immigration collateral consequences. Because again, they have that duty to advise on what those consequences might be. And they have also connected folks with social workers who have been helpful in helping them access resources that would allow them to gain immigration status. From an admin perspective, it's really difficult, frankly, to say. I would venture to guess that this is a fund that would have a high level of scrutiny and a high level of transparency required around it or expected around it. So we would need to develop a program, what that would look like, who qualifies, how do we track those funds, who do we contract with to be the fiscal agent or the receiver of those funds. So certainly to all of your points that there's, I think, a lot more to know around that. And then to Supervisor Wilson's comment on the Brown Act, again, it would just depend on how this was set up and if there was some kind of committee level review around the access of the funds that would require a public meeting or not. So lots of unknowns there.
And just to, thinking about, for example, funds that come to us through Measure J, unrelated to this topic, but thinking about how we partner with outside agencies, we do administer funds for programmatic work to local nonprofits that they then carry out. So then that simplifies our contracting process and I would say probably allows them a little bit more flexibility. Would you see something like that being a good option here?
Yeah, and also, you know, as you talk about a nonprofit that might be a good fit, I haven't heard Humboldt Area Foundation referenced yet, but this seems in line with their mission drive around funds that they receive. They receive a lot of philanthropic funds. So I think Ms. Dugan referenced talking with Central Del Pueblo, Humboldt Area Foundation. There's a lot of research to be done here, I think.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. Along with some questions for you, where would you anticipate funds would come from? What does that look like? Where could we pull funds from?
I mean, ideally, philanthropic donated funds. I love that idea. When I first heard this, I, of course, get nervous and likewise protective of the general fund, which is already struggling, as we all know. We could certainly capitalize on some efforts to secure grants, but again, those have stringent reporting requirements and administrative requirements around them. So, of course, donated funds are my preference and what I would hope to be realized should this fund be created. And I would really strongly urge the board to continue protecting the general fund.
Okay, so it sounds like we have some work to do on our end to think about who might be a partner that we could work with and what county funds might be available and from where, and that probably has to happen off the dais. I don't think we're going to work it all out today. And then hearing a little bit more about what you all have in mind would be great through public comment. So our process is typically that we go to the online commenters first. So we'll continue with that. And Kaylee, do we have hands up?
We do. Thank you. Caller 6895, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes. You can try to press *6, but it does say you're unmuted.
Okay, sorry. sorry about that. Been jumping between calls. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Carol Schmidt again, and I am very appreciative to Supervisor Madrone for the work Lisa's done, McKinleyville neighbor and resident, as well as someone who is raised in the Midwest, who is very close to Minneapolis, Minnesota, keeping very close with family and friends there. And we have to be very cognizant that these issues have moved outside of the urban areas and very definitely the rural areas where they don't get the headlines. And as was discussed, that like money gets sucked into the urban areas, they obviously get sucked into urban areas for issues like this. And it is a policy and resolution in issues as well as the finding the financing. So I'd like to propose a couple of things. One, the county prosecutor in one of the rural counties in Minnesota is currently going after the federal memo that was issued that said ICE agents could go ahead and just, go into homes and take people out in their underwear in freezing weather without any due process, and that the county prosecutor is fighting that right now, and literally like our district attorney. So it is a policy that we can fight this federal work as well as provide financing, which has already been discussed about getting private funds into something. It needs to be funding that is not just one indigenous people or Latino or whatever. It's all races, backgrounds, religions. And I want to point out very closely that in Minnesota, the organizations, those multi-faith organizations have been very, very strong in combining their work with local government, with local law enforcement, with various people to help their neighbors, regardless of faith. And so we need to tap into that resource as well. So whatever ends up coming up does need to be policy, does need to have resolutions, but does also need to be a mechanism to bring in funding, which, one battle after another. Let's go to Leonardo and ask him if he'll put some of the millions of dollars made from this award-winning movie and helping to the case locally here in Humboldt County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other callers online?
Yes. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, it wasn't really, I was dropped from your ability to listen to you for a while. I don't know whether it was brought up, but one of the things in here on the letter from the Boudawat Bluff group, which I think speaking of, was to enlist the Human Rights Commission in showing support for local business shows to know and exercise their rights. That's something I think that is well within your thing to do. I don't think you direct them, but you could request they work on that. Wonderful idea. This, in my opinion, is really not the county lane. Humboldt Area Foundation, that would be their lane, or somebody equivalent to work with on this as far as raising funds. They have existing funds which probably could be applied to this. I highly recommend that this group contact Humboldt Area Foundation. I'm kind of fortunate, and my cousin and his wife, I think, are 2 of the top 10 immigration attorneys in California. So when we had a family situation, we moved through really quickly. Not everybody has access to that, but I think you're going to find that if you involve the county in this, it's susceptible to PRAs. You're opening a can of worms. Number 2, you really don't want, in my opinion, to go ahead poking the bear on this one. You join up with LA, San Francisco, and things, and most likely that might be the last straw of unintended consequences of actually having ICE participation here. I haven't heard about it. If we do have it, I'm sure it'll be out there instantly. I'm calling from Kino, Mexico. I love the people down here, and I feel sorry for a lot of what's happening up there. But I really think that the county is not your best partner on this one, and I strongly support I think with 8 people and a bunch of others to jump on board and move forward with this, but use the correct method of getting there. I think Humboldt Area Foundation is it. Thank you for my opportunity to speak on this topic today.
Thank you. Caller 5166, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Marie Clark. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I know we have people in the room who would like to speak as well. But I am one of the Ottawa Bluffs groups that, we submitted the letter. So I'm a resident of McKinleyville, and I am here for my very first time doing anything like this because I just feel so strongly about it. It's not necessarily my people who are being targeted, but all people are being targeted. I am a queer woman of color, and I do feel like all people are my people, and that includes everyone. I have roots up here. I feel very strongly about everyone here. I recently relocated here to Humboldt, even though I have roots up here, and everybody has been wonderful to me, and I just feel called to be a part of positive change. I just want to say that all of the concerns and questions that have been brought up sound very valid. I look forward to, I really appreciate this opportunity, so thank you to Steve Madrone for getting our letter, for Lisa Dugan, my neighbor and friend who helped bring us all together at Bigfoot Brewery to get all this together. And I just want to say that I do have a good friend who's a public defender in Minneapolis, Minnesota, who represents, children in the system. I know she's attended training on immigration to update herself on immigration law, so that she can help represent people who need that legal representation, because there are people going without legal representation. So I understand a lot of people are saying that people do have access to representation. I just don't necessarily believe that's always the case from what I'm hearing. I also have a good friend that is not involved with anything like this, who's in the Bay Area, that speaks Spanish. I connected these 2 friends together. They're able to provide representation for these children in the system in Minneapolis. I think that we can do the same here. Brenda is here with a colleague from Centro de Pueblo. I believe they already have some infrastructure in place that we can support, whether it's with private donations. You have people like me who are willing to just, I don't have any kind of expertise or background, but I care, and I can help bring things to fruition. And I just think that we can really do this, and how the channels in which we do it, I'm absolutely open to, and I just really appreciate this opportunity to express myself. I have been waiting for quite some time. It is weird to be on conference call only. I feel like the 90s called, and once their conference call back, I kept looking for the Zoom link. But I am missing a meeting right now at work, and I'm going to get back to it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
That's all on Zoom.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move to comments in the room, and I want to ask folks to keep their comments limited to the item at hand. So we'll go ahead and start with the person standing right here. Would you like to come forward?
I have comments to submit here. Is it 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You bet it is. Absolutely. Good afternoon. My name is Alexandra Profont. Happy Easter week. Many people are still celebrating Easter in the Orthodox churches across the world. I'm speaking to the illegal immigration issue from a different perspective. So I am somebody right now without legal representation. I am somebody with a child who has been illegally removed from her home, wherein I have orders in my hand that actually are in my favor to possess my home. One of the orders happens to be called the Multi-State Enforcement Order under Nation Star Mortgage, LLC. This order named 47 states across the land where homes and children were illegally removed from homes they owned with their parents without any due process.
Mrs.
Now,
Profant,
this is very relevant.
This isn't related to immigration.
I don't want you to cut me off, okay, please? Let me finish my 3 minutes.
All right, please go ahead.
Thank you. Because this is the narrative that's not getting heard, Supervisor Arroyo.
I would argue that this isn't relevant
You
to the
haven't
topic
heard,
at
you have
hand.
not heard me finish.
All right, please
So
go ahead.
in order for the relevance to actually appear, you have to actually listen. Do you agree?
Please, your time is still going, so please go ahead.
Okay. So I have experienced due process. I still haven't recovered my home. However, in one of 3 of my stolen homes, I have witnessed somebody in my doorway telling my husband, "Get out of here, white boy. This is my house now. I'm a Native American sovereign and the police can't touch me." Well, it just so happens that all the Native Americans we have asked about this person, they don't know him. And there were people in the area that were part of gangs that had inhabited stolen homes. This is part of the narrative that is not going on. So I met with Homeland Security special agents and asked, how is it that somebody might get an illegal immigrant removed from my home and timberland in Humboldt County, where I actually met some illegal immigrants after my home had been stolen? They said, well, why aren't the sheriffs trespassing them off your land? I said, that's a very good question. So I know you don't want to link up, the global thinking of this issue, but there is a whole other side of this issue that has not been addressed, that includes American-born children being displaced out of their homes, where now we have illegal immigrants residing, at least in part, in our homes that we have met and or witnessed. So I would just like to speak to that because it is very relevant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Kathleen Clark, and I'm a resident of McKinleyville. And I think I have a unique perspective. I think that having a legal defense fund for our immigrant community is critical. I'm currently retired. I worked for Santa Clara County Social Services as a social worker for about 30 years and worked with many immigrant families. I have friends that are still working. I was fortunate to retire. I started when I was really young. My friends that are still working have often been in a position to accompany children and youth who are dependent children of the county, teenagers who are either in the disciplinary system, who are in the process of gaining citizenship. And they have these regular meetings with immigration enforcement. They have to go on a regular basis, usually quarterly, to verify their address and their identity. And my friends in the Bay Area, in San Mateo County, a friend who works for probation in San Mateo County and a friend who works for child welfare in Santa Clara County, both have been present to accompany youth. And while they're there to accompany the youth, they, as employees of the county, are then held. They've been held and questioned for hours about where were they born, where are their papers, where were their parents born. They now know to carry their documents with them, but that was frightening. And it just highlights the fact that that not only are our residents being intimidated, but now it's staff of the county. This is a tactic that's used to discourage people from helping or even accompanying immigrants to the process of gaining citizenship. And even though they are lawfully here, often like the DACA minors have DACA status, it is critical to have a legal defense fund to support our immigrant neighbors in case defense is needed and to protect our county staff.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Peyton, and I'm here with Centro del Pueblo today. I am appreciative to hear that there's interest on the board about this agenda item. I also understand that there's development that needs to be done. So I'm here to advocate that Centro del Pueblo is the person that if you can, or the organization that if you were to continue this conversation, we would love to continue that conversation with you. I work in a few capacities with Centro, and one of them is like answering the phone. So I get a lot of these calls where people are asking, what services do you have, legal services, do you have a lawyer? And we don't have a lawyer. We don't have representation up here. We've known that attorney access in Humboldt County has been a problem for a long time, since before this last election or these increased immigration raids that we've been seeing. So I hope that whatever we'll work on in this upcoming time, developing this, is something that can have more lasting presence than just the current time that we're in. Something that can, yes, help out right now, but also be useful in the future. So my suggestions, I guess, as I sit here today, would be something related to attorney help, either bringing up attorneys from out of town or, encouraging people that already live here that are hoping to become attorneys to then push them further into becoming immigration attorneys. Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts here, so I hope that we can develop this further, and I'll leave my time for other people.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Krista Bornman. I'm a volunteer with Centro del Pueblo. I do think it's important that I say that I'm a volunteer because Centro has 5 people on staff, and they are not a rapid response organization. They are a part of the community for the last 10 years that helps immigrant people celebrate their culture, get connected with Humboldt, and they have taken on the Rapid Response Network and assisting people who are having issues with immigration because this work is necessary and urgent, not because it's something that I know how to do. I am figuring it out every day. And we are getting calls all the time from our community members who are afraid. Our community is already being affected. Our community is already living in fear. And whatever we can do to help assuage those fears, I feel like is urgent and necessary, not just from our community, but also from the people who represent us. And thank you so much for taking the time to hear this and to ask good, thoughtful questions about how we can make this realistic. And thank you to our friends in McKinleyville for putting this together, because the 5 people who work at Centro don't have time to take on every single thing that's affecting our community right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, welcome.
Hi. Do I have to put this down because I'm short?
You can do whatever you like.
I'm Haley Shank, and I am an IHSS provider for my little boy, Rocky. Rocky, say hi, supervisors. Ready?
Hi, Rocky.
Hi. Oh, you got it? Hold on. It came off. You got it? Part of my time, probably Coke. Hi, supervisors. We worked really hard on that. Okay, go sit. Go sit and talk. No, hold on, I'll do the message. I stand today and every day in solidarity with my neighbors, my caregiving peers, and my dear friends and community. The nearest immigration legal services are located in San Francisco. Some additional services are in Santa Rosa, not adequate, making access costly and in this current climate, unsafe. This challenge is compounded by the fact that this region, has historically been considered a desert for immigration legal services, with limited infrastructure to meet the needs of immigrant communities that live and work here. Therefore, I highly recommend that the Board of Supervisors support the development and sustainability of the Centro de Recursos Legales project led by Centro del Pueblo for its continuity through 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Haley. Welcome.
Hi. My name is Maria Corral Rocha, and I am one of the lucky staff members with Centro del Pueblo. You've all heard many compelling arguments about the immigration legal desert that is in Humboldt County and the structural reasons that explain that. I want to talk to you about one of the reasons why it's important to have legal counsel in Humboldt County for immigrants is that undocumented immigrants are not the only immigrants in the county. There's lawful permanent residents or people with green cards. They might want to advance and seek their citizenship. They need a lawyer for that. There's asylum seekers. They need to pursue their asylum case. They need a lawyer for that. There's immigrants who have temporary protected status from different countries around the world. They want to maintain their claim. They need a lawyer for that. We have families who are mixed status, which means that some of the family members are U.S. citizens, some of them are permanent residents, some of them might be undocumented immigrants. But when one member of the family is at risk everybody in the family is at risk. And when adults have this fear of going to the doctor, going to the store, going to work, taking the kids to their school, walking down the street, that fear trickles and it cripples our communities. So the systematic absence of legal representation for immigrants, I think, is a fundamental need that we must address based on equal protection of the law and due process. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Supervisor Arroyo. My name is Brenda Perez, and I'm here representing the indigenous migrant community in Humboldt County. I am here also on behalf of Centro del Pueblo and the immigrants that are organizing this rapid response network, this work that now is expanding in communication with Mendocino organizers and Del Norte organizers. So I'm very proud to say that even though we've been here for 10 years, the impact is being extended regionally. I'm also very proud to say that we are starting our Legal Resource Center in Centro. This is a one-year project for immigrants working with the support of UC Davis Labor Center attorneys, and we are going to focus in providing access and legal pathways for workers. So we want to take out of the gray areas, the gray zones, to the community that is working already, to take them away from abuses, from many things that are happening right now. We want to protect their human rights, and we want to bring those attorneys here. They are coming in during the summer. We're going to have those consultations in place in Eureka. I'm more than proud. This is a huge need, regardless of the context. We have seen different periods, different precedents, and the need is continuous. So I want to invite the supervisors to please keep going with this conversation. The representation fund, I think it's a positive policy in the frame of a sanctuary county. It can be discussed also in the terms of positive message from our local government for the entire community. Calling it universal, I think, is adequate because our members here in the room said we have mixed status families. We have people that will benefit from here, not only immigrants, employers. All the Chamber of Commerce have established this support and solidarity, talking about how impactful universally would be to have lawyers here focused on immigration cases. In my 40 seconds left, I want to thank the McKinleyville neighbors and also Supervisor Madron for putting this issue in the agenda. Many counties are doing it. Many counties are strengthening this collaboration with nonprofits, and this is an example of what we can do to have a positive impact. Let's continue the conversation. Let's have this as a policy that will strengthen the protection that we need urgently. Thank you again for everyone that is making these efforts from south to north in Humboldt County. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item in the room? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I do want to return it to Supervisor Madron since you brought this item. Would you like to provide any input at this time?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. That was a really wonderful set of feedback from the community. Really appreciate the work of Centro del Pueblo and of community members who are all concerned about these issues. Some would say that because we have a sanctuary ordinance as a county, excuse me, and 2 cities with that ordinance, we then become a target. You know, I think we're small enough to where that may or may not be true, but the bottom line is that even when that ordinance was being developed, there was a lot of opposition from some government officials around what the cost might be to implement that, which has been proven to not be the case. I am very grateful that we have these ordinances in place, and I don't want to wait until all of a sudden we have families being torn apart and ICE finally shows up in our community doing all kinds of things like we've seen across the country. So I do think now is the time to act, and you know, while we aren't prepared today with all the information, I would like to direct staff to do a little more digging and bring back some more information on how it might work, and invite the public defender to come and the sheriff and whoever we feel we need to come and continue this conversation. I don't want to set up a whole nother ad hoc. We have so many ad hocs, and I know everybody's starting to go, oh, not another ad hoc. But I do think we need to continue the conversation and find a way to create this kind of a fund wherever it is housed. And I think what we can do as county government is to continue the conversation and see if we can get a little further down in terms of how it might be set up, how it might function, what the cost might be to do that. And I think reaching out to Humboldt Area Foundation is a great idea as well. Thank you, CAO. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point, is that I want to thank Lisa and the team in McKinleyville for bringing this forward. And let's see how we can continue the conversation and firm up what we might be able to do, because at the very least, it does let people know, as Brenda said, that we care. And I know everybody on the board cares about this community, everybody in the community. So let's follow up with that and see what kind of feedback we can get and further discussion. And when it's ripe, bring it back for another agenda item, and I'd be happy to sponsor that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Madron. Really appreciate you bringing this forward. Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you. I hear you, Supervisor Madron, about not having another ad hoc, and possibly we could. I don't want staff to have to do all this work, and I think it's appropriate to have the players in the room so that we can have a really informed agenda item coming back. And so I would propose that I'm going to make a motion that we put a working group together with two supervisors. I would suggest Supervisor Arroyo and Supervisor Madron, with Lisa, if she's willing, also, and some representation from Centro
Del Pueblo.
Thank you. And the sheriff and public defender. And I also would like to include Connie Beck, because it was mentioned here several times about social workers. And so I think that's appropriate, and also to include a CAO representation. And then when we have a really robust discussion to come back, that it comes back to this board.
I would second that motion, and would the motioner be willing to also invite the Humboldt Area Foundation to that discussion?
Absolutely. Thank you, Supervisor Madron.
Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Supervisor Bone, do you have any comments?
I know the county can add people to this and everything else, but if you look at, since the Humboldt Area Foundation, I mean, they're changing every day. I don't know if we need to be as involved and have Lisa and her people get with the Humboldt Area Foundation with Centro del Pueblo, because they have the donor network that we're talking about. They have monies for the betterment that are donated for the betterment of our community. And I don't know where staff time, you know, I'll go along with the board on this one, but I mean, the Humboldt Area Foundation has hundreds of millions of dollars of community money to do this, and the county, in real short, realistic terms, doesn't. So besides the name County of Humboldt, we don't bring much to the table. Not that we don't have, we'll back you 100% in all the efforts and everything else. I don't know what we bring to the table. So.
Could I respond?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. I think that the intent of my motion is to see that, and if we don't bring something to the table, then we can have that discussion and move forward and see what that looks like. I think you know, we have a supervisor that's interested in bringing an item back, Supervisor Madron, and I think that because we need to be informed that the working group with the members included, I think we can get that conversation back in front of us. And if the county has nothing to offer, then that can be the message as well, and we can form something that works with Humboldt Area Foundation or the outside groups and support that. Or not, but I think we need to know.
It sounds like this can be a robust conversation that we have and bring back some recommendations. Were you done, Supervisor Bone? Yes. Okay, I have a few comments of my own.
I do support the motion, but I just wanted to say some additional things. I think, one of the things we're talking about here is assisting people who work and study and live and parent in our community to comply with the law and to find safe legal pathways. So, I think this is clearly with that intent of helping people comply with what is already the law and continue to be part of our community. I really appreciated the commenter who spoke to, not everyone is in the same circumstance. Some people have different status. We might be thinking of one particular group, but there's a lot of nuance in people's circumstances. And, when I sat here and thought about who I know who is not a U.S. citizen, who is an integral part of our community, it's everyone from agricultural workers and childcare providers and teachers and medical providers in our community who wish to stay here and wish to keep contributing to our community. And all of those are not only part of the workforce that we really critically need, but they're providing an important service while also being a part of our community. So even if you're looking at this from the most pragmatic possible standpoint of like, what can we get out of it, which I don't think any of us are, but it's also meeting some of our strategic plan objectives around strengthening our workforce, around strengthening our medical sector, our childcare sector, and all of those things that we know are so important to our community. So I wanted to emphasize that. It sounds like the Public Defender's Office does provide some services that intersect with immigration-related needs, and perhaps they need additional resources in that area. So that's something I think we can explore. We would have to be in conversation with them to do that. I certainly hear that there's a couple of nonprofits in the community that could help administer funds or help work with attorneys to provide these services. And I would be interested in exploring, excuse me, I had a weird situation with my throat. I would be interested in exploring whether there are any county funds that we could use, again, to sort of seed this fund or expand on what's already available. I do have one question about, and we can explore that in our working group. I do have a question about whether the existing Recursos Legales program can expand to meet some of the needs that we're talking about here. And I was wondering if I could invite Brenda. Do you mind being put on the spot? Would it be possible for you to utilize additional resources to expand what's already available to community members through that program?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, it's covering 12 months. We need to do this in a more sustainable way.
So you have coverage for a 12-month period ending when? At the end of the
2027, this summer.
Okay. So next summer, you'll be out of funding. So, and you're already working with attorneys who are able to come here or work with clients here?
Correct.
Okay. That's wonderful. That's great to know. Thank you so much for all the work on that.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any additional comments?
Vice Chair Arroyo.
Yes.
Madrone has his hand raised.
Oh, wonderful. We'll go to Steve and then Rex and then Michelle and bring it back.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair. I just wanted to suggest to the motion maker that we also add representatives from the Human Rights Commission. It seems logical to me.
That was my comment, so I don't need time, and yes, I'm okay with that.
I am sure they'll enthusiastically participate. All right, Rex, did you have something else?
I gotta say this without getting myself in trouble. I will anyway. As we move forward with this, I mean, I like the idea if there's seed money. We've never been able, we find seed money when it's needed to be. But the idea of spending the money with Centro del Pueblo and everything else, they have done so much with so little already. Government doesn't have a reputation for that. We get caught up in the bureaucracy and we get 3% here, 5% there, 7% there. So if we touch your money, donors or anything like that, you're not going to get the best bang for the buck. And I'll tell you that right now. And I mean, that's just my 20%. And everybody can tell me I'm wrong, but we're just not going to get it. We've got great staff, we got great people, but we have a bureaucracy that we have to follow that is beyond repair. So all I'm saying is I support the notion, I support the idea, I appreciate McKinleyville bringing it forward, but I think you guys need to talk a lot more than us getting in the middle of it and slowing it down and costing you more money. I'm going to be brutally honest here. If you get us involved, it's going to not help the issue. The public defender, yes. I mean, and I know that they have been working with this, but we're not great at this. We get a lot of things done that nobody wants to do, but you guys have an idea. You guys have a plan. They're already doing it. The only thing holding them back from doing more is resources. They don't need a 5-member staff. They may need an 8-member staff. I'm just saying, and I'm probably going to catch hell for that later for saying that, but nobody likes the truth.
Let the record show that Rex is a big booster of Centro del Pueblo. We appreciate that. That's great. That is wonderful. And I think, we're all just so pleased that you're here in our community doing this great work. I wanted to see if Auditor Controller Michael Evenson had anything to add. I know we talked about the creation of a fund. I see you back there. Just wanted to make sure we're not skipping over you. And then we'll go to Supervisor Bushnell. Sorry.
I'll stand. It's easier on my back. Since it sounds like the conversation has been going additional staff conversation, I would just advise against creating the fund today and doing that as we have a more concrete and detailed plan. Other than that, as Rex said, it's pretty easy for me to create a fund. Direct me to do it, I do it. When we start getting to a more complex plan, maybe a request to CAO Hayes to involve me in that if it's looking like it's going to involve county funds so that I can make sure we set up the accounting for it correctly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here and for having that input. Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you, Michael. I think that it would come back here before we did create a fund. I don't disagree with Rex at all. I do think that we get in our way a lot, and through this working group, maybe that'll be the direction that we bow out and we connect folks and maybe something like that. And you didn't say anything wrong, and I do agree with him. It's bureaucracy is hard and it's slow. And I don't think that's what you folks are looking for or what the county is looking for. So I just appreciate his thoughts. And I know he feels kind of lonely over there, but really do know that he means the best.
Yeah, appreciate that. Another consideration that I forgot to mention on my list before was just another reason to kind of work with a partner organization could be that we really don't have a role when it comes to, other than our own litigation matters, we don't have a role in court processes, whether that's, local courts, state, federal level. Our board doesn't have a role in engaging with that, but people do look to us to intercede in their civil matters. And we, frequently have public commenters who ask us to get involved with civil matters and provide some form of support, and we don't currently do that. So we're talking here about trying to find a mechanism to support people through what are often civil matters, and so it might be best for that to be another organization, so that we don't kind of go down a path that we're not prepared to provide resources for long term. All right, so we're going to explore this more. It's been moved and seconded. Any other final board comments? No? We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote then.
Thank you. Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Bone?
Yep.
Vice Chair Arroyo?
Yes.
Chair Wilson absent. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks so much for coming out. We just have one more item on our calendar for today. We have the discussion and approval of proposed amendments to the Redwood Region Economic Development Commission's Joint Powers Agreement. And this is brought to you by me. So I do serve on the REDEC board, and we have been undertaking an update of our joint powers agreement. That has to be ratified by all the members. And to my knowledge, we are the last one to go. So all of the other members of REDEC have approved this. That is what I was told. And this is I will say the joint powers agreement was very outdated. Amongst other things, it referred to all of the members of the board as he and all of the staff as he, but that wasn't the main thing. There were a lot of things that were just in there that really should be in another document or up to the discretion of the board, such as exactly when the board meetings are and some pretty unreasonable quorum recommendations. So this moves to a more common framework for public agencies in California today. So if, are there any additional comments that, I'm looking at council, I'm not sure how deep into this you got, council or CAO? Thank you, y'all. No, okay, no additional comments. I know I did correspond a little bit with council leading up to this just to get all of the ducks in a row when it comes to the final documents, and so those are attached here in your packet. Are there any questions from board members?
I have no questions. Do you want to go to public comment? And I'm happy to make a motion.
Sure. We'll go ahead and move to public comment for this item.
There is none on Zoom.
All right, seeing none on Zoom, is there any in the room for the joint powers agreement for REDEC? All right, seeing none. Did you have a question, Supervisor Brown? Okay, so no questions? All right. I will say that the staff report does go into some of the things that changed. Would it be helpful if I highlight those? Okay. It does allow for REDEC to operate with it defines who's on the commission. It's been really hard to get a quorum for this organization, in part because the quorum requirement was so high, and because the commission was so large, and it wasn't clear how people could leave unless they notified us. Like there's a number of members who really stopped participating for years, but were still on the list, and so to get a quorum was really hard because it wasn't clear how we would, not that we want to kick them out, but how they would no longer be considered an active member of the commission. And the geographic boundaries were expanded to be able to partner with neighboring counties. Previously, it just included Mendocino and Del Norte, for example, but it didn't include Trinity. So now it defines that as the adjacent or nearby counties and tribal lands, so that if there are opportunities like the Redwood Region Rise California Jobs First program, for example, we can participate more wholly in that without having to kind of determine whether it meets our JPA. All right.
Happy to make a motion for the updated REDAC JPA.
Great. I'll second. All right.
Second. Oh, you got it. Good.
Oh, you got it, Steve. I'll let you do it because I'm, chairing. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Thank you. Supervisor Bone? Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Arroyo?
Yes.
Chair Wilson absent. Motion carries 4-0.
Great, and I've been told we want to go to our CAO for any closing comments.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just one quick point of clarification on the closed session report out. It was referenced as Section J, but that is in fact Section K because it was time set. So I just wanted that in the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record show that. All right, with that, we will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.